Had a little listen to his podcast, huh?
Dude, it's educational. Besides, I've been wanting to listen to this one.
Welcome to Idling in the Impala, a podcast by and for lovers of supernatural and the fanfiction it inspires. I'm Kasey.
I'm Sandra, and there have been zero complaints about the homework we've been assigned for this interview. If you've been a connoisseur of J2 and Wincest fanfic for more than a minute, the stories by today's guest have probably been recommended as required reading. Nyxocity is a prolific creator who has been writing and posting since the heyday of LiveJournal. According to her Tumblr profile, she's blessed fandoms with over 5 million words of fanfic. Oh. We are so ready to get lectured and learn about her writing process and inspiration. So huge thanks for coming onto the podcast to chat, and welcome, Nyx.
Welcome.
Hi, everybody.
Yay. We are so excited.
Hello. 5 million words. See, I did tell you that I didn't read shit before we started. That's so many words. Good Lord.
That's not all in supernatural fandom.
No,
to be fair.
No. Yeah, but still, whether or not, that's so impressive. So very impressive. Yeah, thank you for coming on. We did a little bit of a introduction before we got started, and we've been holding on to this and not really letting anybody in our Discord know, just because we didn't want to jinx anything. And we're like, oh, let's see. Hopefully Nyx can come on. We wanted to start with, Nyx, when exactly you got into supernatural.
Almost from the beginning of it airing. I saw posts on LiveJournal about it on my friends list, and I saw people talking about the pilot. And I was like, oh, that sounds really interesting, because I was coming out of Buffy fandom.
Okay.
And so, anything that's like TV horror is kind of in my vein. And it sounded real interesting. So I started, back in the day when we would record shows on DVRs, I started recording it and watching it. I think Dead in the Water was the first episode I watched.
Okay.
Oh.
So
and then
really
I watched
soon.
it
Yeah.
every week after that. It was, yeah.
So did you go back? When did you go back and watch the pilot?
I don't remember. I think I might have caught it on a rerun, but I know that I did go out and buy the first season as soon as it was available on DVD. So I know that I watched it then.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. That's interesting. I don't think we've ever had someone that started not that close to the beginning. We've had people that have been like, oh, I found it at such and such episode and then I went back. But nobody's like, I was right there, like on the ground floor. I just missed the first episode.
The first two. But what was I going to say? I went back to LiveJournal, and of course that was all people were talking about. So I had a good idea of what had happened in the pilot. And also, they recapped the hell out of that thing every time at the beginning of the episodes back in season one. It was Mom on the Ceiling and Jess and all of that. So I had a pretty good idea of what was going on.
You said Buffy. So was that kind of like, I guess in the vein of like shows, what other kind of shows did you watch? And I mean, was that a show too that you were involved in, like the fandom aspect of it as well?
Oh yeah, for sure. Okay. I was big into Buffy fandom. Okay.
And is there like I've heard people say there's a parallel a lot to Buffy and Dean. Have you gotten that before?
There are people who really like that pairing. I actually enjoy Faith and Dean more because they're more the same kind of person. It's a lot of fun. Okay. And then you throw Sam in there and it's a good time.
Kasey, I'm going to let you ask your question because we've been wondering about this question. So
yeah, no, Sandra asked me this just before you arrived. She's like, do you know like which side they lean on? And I was like, nope, not a Scooby. So I have a table and everything. So like, Sandra says I'm not allowed to say it like this, so I won't say it like that. If you had to choose a brother to be your main Blorbo, who would it be? And it's not a competition. It's not like Team Dean or Team Sam. Just like, which one is like your main Blorbo?
Oh, I don't know. Isn't it a competition? I've listened to this podcast.
I have been told by more than one person that I am antagonistic. And I was explicitly told by Sandra I was not allowed to use the words gun to your head with what she said, Wincest royalty. So I did it. Gun to your head, Nyx. Gun to your head. You got to pick one. And you have the length of time it takes me to open my Google sheet. Go.
All right. It's Dean.
Okay.
Oh!
I love Sam to death, but I have a type and it's Bad Boy with a Heart of Gold. And that's just, yeah.
There it is again, man. There it is again. I love Sam so much, but yeah, all right.
Oh, I love Sam. I'm more like Sam than I'm like Dean, which is probably why I'm drawn to Dean. So
Okay.
That's okay, because Dean really needed more help on his side of the
I
scale
know,
here.
I know. No, a lot of my friends in fandom are big time Sam girls. So, yeah.
Did you get that right away? Like I mean, you watched. If you started with Dead in the Water, you started with a pretty great Dean.
Yeah,
bad boy with a heart of gold episode.
I feel like that's an unfair episode to start with. If you'd have started with the pilot, you get Sam riding around in the back seat of the car. That feels weighted.
But yeah, you got Dean with the kid and telling his backstory and all of that other stuff. And yeah.
Oh yeah, no, that was what I meant, Sandra. Yeah, no, I didn't mean I didn't mean the bit in the lake with the swooshy hair and all that. No. Yeah. I was definitely all about the kid and the backstory.
Well,
Karen.
Unfortunately, Dean does get a lot of the emotional beats throughout the show. Like they do focus a lot on Dean's emotions more so than Sam's. You have to look a little harder, I feel like, to see Sam's. It's there.
Yeah.
But you got to dig for it a little bit. They don't put it into the narrative as directly.
We've had a couple questions too that kind of have, I don't know, risen when we start talking to more people who, I guess, either are in the more like the J2 and the Wincest side of fanfic. And one of them, I think, Kasey, did you want to ask those two now? Because we just keep asking these now because they just seem like they're interesting.
Did you not want
related.
You want to? Okay, well, no.
Yeah, no, I want to do those now. Now that we got the Dean part out of the way, I'm interested in these now.
Yeah, I want to do these because it's on my side.
No, because I'm interested. I'm just
If you started like you came in literally on the ground floor, did you finish the show?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Did you wait? Was there any hesitancy, or were you there all the way through?
No,
Was there any time? Okay.
I lost track of it for a couple years. I had a lot going on in my life, and I lost track of it. I lost track of fandom for a couple of years, and then I got back in. I think it was. I want to say, oh my gosh, what's the season? The one scene where Jared had a really, really hard time. But it was like super emotional, and they had to do the takeover and over again, and he just couldn't get it. It was like,
was it season 14?
I think that, yeah, it was late. It was season 14.
Which episode? Which one was that?
Oh, I think it was Profit and Loss. It was he was drunk. He was by the car.
Yes.
Dean was talking about, the Malik box and all that kind of stuff. And I think, yeah, he was like, why don't you believe in us? Kind of a situation.
Yes, that's the one.
I know exactly which one you mean. He he punches him, doesn't he? And
yes,
then
he punches him and then
hug.
And then Dean hugs him. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, that's
so that was the season that I had gotten back in and was watching it. And I remember tearing up at that part and go, God, I didn't even realize this show could still make me cry at this point. It's been a while. But I lost track of it for a couple of years, like 2017, 2018. And then in 2019, I did get back in on season 14. And then I moved and I was like, well, I have to get cable in my house so I can watch the last 5 episodes of Supernatural. I will literally pay for cable for like 3 months so I can see these final episodes as they air, because there's no way I'm going to miss them. And I'm not going to wait. So yeah, I was there. I missed a couple seasons, caught back up, but got back in and watched 14 and 15 through to the end.
Wow.
You said life getting in the way too. Did you, in terms of the season itself, were there some seasons where it just wasn't grabbing you anymore? Like you were talking about how, you didn't know the show could still do that. Did you feel like there was just like a kind of a lull? Or, we talk about kind of like riding the wave of Supernatural. Like there's, a couple good seasons that maybe or the first 5, are just I think epic. They're just so perfect. And then you get kind of the different creators and stuff, and it's kind of what are they doing? So but you kind of have to stick with it to see a lot of the really gems. We just did an episode where we were talking about Just My Imagination in season 11 with Sully, and how that's just really great episodes that still can get you and you're amazed. This is what the show can still do, but just doesn't happen as often. So did you have some seasons where you were just what are they doing? Why are they doing this?
No, I never felt like that about the show. I'm a very forgiving viewer. I don't really mind as long as you're telling me a good story. I do feel like, the show did change, obviously, and evolve over time. And, the longer a show goes, the more they kind of get into, we've done so many things at this point that, they're just not putting quite as much effort in.
Yeah.
But I still love the show. I literally I had so much going on. My life was falling apart. I had just gotten divorced, and so there were other things on the table at that point. It wasn't a lack of love for the show.
Just life. Just fucking
Just
keeps
life.
happening at us all, and we're just like, 5 minutes, please.
Well, it's good that you can still
exactly.
have that with the characters. I think that's why I keep rewatching too. It's just like, because they're very, as crazy as their lives are, it's just a very comforting scenario to be like, around them. And yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me what they do as long as Sam and Dean are there. When Sam and Dean are there, I'm there. I'm watching. So,
So on that, and we could this doesn't have to air because I know we know it's controversial. What were your kind of thoughts on the ending? Were you okay with it? Were you a sobby, gross mess like the rest of us? Were you angry? Like, where are you at?
I loved the finale. I loved it. I know that's controversial, but
to be fair, it's controversial whichever way you go. It's controversial if you're like, I love the ending, or if you're like, I hated it, or if you're like, it was alright. Like, there just seems to be no consensus on the fucking episode. Somebody will take issue with it.
Yeah, I remember sitting there watching it live and just sobbing my heart out. And I haven't cried like that in a very long time. I hadn't cried like that in a very long time. And I was just like, like a little kid with a skinned knee, just sobbing. And they broke my heart, shattered it. And then I really felt like at the end, put it back together and made me happy. So I really loved the finale. I thought it was what it should be. And I really am grateful that COVID stepped in like that and made it so that it was just them, because I feel like that is how it should have ended, just focused on the two of them.
Yeah.
That's where we started. That's where we should end. That's what I felt like.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. My poor husband, he didn't know what to do with me. I cried for hours. I was just cutting around the house going, it wasn't supposed to be like this. And he was just like, baby, it's a TV show. And I'm like, you don't understand. Shut up.
Yeah. I know a lot of
good.
people were sad that Dean died and left Sam behind. But I like it when you rip my heart out. So
I
was okay with that. But I did cry a lot about it.
I would think you were probably sobbing for a good portion then of like all of like Dean.
Oh, yeah.
Like the way they just kept going with that.
For like 20 minutes straight. I couldn't breathe. Like, it was bad.
Yeah.
Ugly, like a toddler who just dropped that ice cream. Ugly crying.
Ugly crying.
Yeah.
I'm glad nobody was there to see me.
Then there's the other question. You're like, you're breaking all our expectations, because normally people that come in on the ground floor, not normally, but like in our experience, the people we spoke to, people that come in on the ground floor, they tend to give up around the same kind of point in the show, like around like 7, 8-ish. And they either sort of like drop it and maybe they come back to it, or they're just like, nope, I love these characters. I don't want any of it spoiled. This is how they live to me. But I've found this to be a pretty good sort of measuring stick when it comes to like thoughts on the show and stuff. Like, how do you feel about the season 3 episode Mystery Spot? Did you like it? Did you not like it?
Oh my God, I love that episode.
I fucking knew it. I'm the weirdo, guys. It's me.
Okay, so I have a very dark sense of humor, and a lot of season 3 is very tongue-in-cheek dark humor, and I love that about it. You can see a little bit of the Eric Kripke on The Boys peeking through in that season. Like, you can see like the beginnings of where like that, he always had this sense of humor. And I mean, it is messed up, and like it really, really hurts to see what Sam goes through in the end. But everything leading up to that, just the dark humor in me, I am just so entertained and find it so funny.
What's your favorite way that Dean dies?
My favorite way that Dean dies. Gosh. I think the one that probably cracked me up the most because it was so brief is, do these tacos taste funny? Because it's just like this itty bitty scene, and then you just know what happens. You don't have to see anymore.
Yeah.
Just boom, and the music starts. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of the one that doesn't even get vocalized. It's just the subtitle Dean dies randomly in the shower. I like that one. I do like that one. And it's like I see the humor in Mystery Spot. I do. The deaths are funny, but it's, oh my God, my boy, he goes through the ring. He's a mess by the end of it, and I don't like that.
Yeah, poor Sam. That is
so,
just...
theory craft with me. Do you think when the trickster, Sam goes through the 6 months at the end alone, do you think that Sam does go through those 6 months and the trickster just erases those memories, or do you think he sends Sam back in time so those 6 months never happen?
We never really do get confirmation if Sam remembers or not, do we?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. I always just thought that Sam remembered, because at the end he looks back at the bed and the bed is unmade, as opposed to when he was like super hunter, dark driven Sam when Dean was gone, and he made his bed like to the point that it was scary because it was so tight.
Military corners. Yep.
Yeah. So I always assumed Sam did remember, because that look back at the bed made me go, oh, okay, he does remember. So, but we never really do get confirmation of that. Wait, doesn't Dean ask him how many Tuesdays were there? Oh, no, that's before Dean dies the final time. My bad. Okay.
Yeah.
But if anything, if Sam doesn't remember, I would assume that the trickster just kind of put him in a pocket reality, since he can do that.
Yeah, that's kind of... I'm not like, there's no definitive answer, and there's no good asking Jared and Jensen. No, fucking remember. This has been too many years now.
It was a long time ago, yeah.
Did we do season 3? Yes, you did, last. But that's kind of like, those are kind of the options. Either Sam remembers, Sam goes through those 6 months, and Dean is just brought back to life, and Sam just never fucking mentions it again. The trickster sends him back in time, and he never experiences those 6 months at all. Or they happen in like an AU of some variety, and Sam is transported in and out. That's what I think is the third one, if Sam doesn't remember. Interesting. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, Sandra, it's me. I'm weird about Mystery Spot.
No, it's just, it's understandable about Sam, though. Like you said, I've learned more about the episode 2 and appreciating that more. Sad. I know it is sad, but it's also really funny. It's really just funny at the beginning.
What is your theory on what happened with Sam? Because I'm not sure I know. You keep saying you're the one that's weird about it, but I don't know what you're referring to.
No, I'm weird about it because I don't like the episode. It makes me sad to watch it. I don't know what the trickster does at the end, to be honest. I could believe that he just brings Dean back to life and Sam just never mentions it again because they're real fucking good about that.
Yeah.
Or I could also believe that it's, like another alternate reality time loop kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure, but I say I'm weird about it is because I don't like the episode. I don't like to watch it. I don't it's funny and I can see the humor in it, and it does you peed yourself. Oh, a man gets hit by a car because you think he's got control of his body. It's funny. I can see it, but I feel
Sam's pain like a raw nerve. It really hits you. I got you.
And it also like you said about the season 14 that Jared had a really hard time with it. Mm-hmm. I know that Jared had a really hard time filming Mystery Spot. He was like, oh yeah, Dean got to goof around and it was really funny. For me, it was awful. I had to cry for a week.
Oh yeah.
And
I mean, he's getting paid to do that. I'm just saying. That's his job.
He's getting the big bucks for it. But I don't know. It just kind of taints it for me. Just a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
But mostly it's just, I just feel like my baby's pain gets lost and everyone's like, oh, it's really, all the deaths are really funny. And they are, but I'm like, but look at him. Please, he's suffering. Stop it. I'm just a little weird about the episode. But I found it's really good. More so for people that don't finish the show for whatever reason. And you go oh, what did you think about Mystery Spot? It tends to be pretty divisive, and people either really strongly love it or really strongly hate it. So I'm like, it's a pretty good yardstick for how people feel about the show and, all that kind of stuff. Any strong opinions either way on Scoobynatural? Because that seems to be another one.
Oh, come on. It's Scooby-Doo and Supernatural. Of course I love it. I grew up on Scooby-Doo. Yeah, I love that freaking episode.
It's literally just me.
No, it's
I don't
not.
like that episode.
I think that's more
But
of a
not because there's
generational-
anything. Yeah, not
that's a
because there's anything wrong
generational
with it.
thing.
Just
Yeah.
I'm too young.
Yeah, that's my
Yeah.
childhood right there.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's okay.
but again, I am a
Um,
very forgiving viewer. Like I said, I'm very easy to make happy. There
Yeah,
have been one or two times when the show has pissed me off, but it's
Tell
only
us
been like
then.
twice.
Tell us then, because
Do
you
you
really do.
really?
You're like, yeah, no, it's like I really like it and it's cool. I'm like, well, tell us when it pissed you off and tell me why it was Michael Dean, because I just have a feeling that that's one of them.
No, it's not that. It was okay. So the first time I got mad, and this is not necessarily just the show, it was the timing. So in season 3, the writer's strike happened.
Mm.
And of course, that's the season when Dean's deal is coming due, and we're hurtling towards the finish line of like, oh my God, what's going to happen to Dean? And there's all this like urgency throughout the season about it. And then writer's strike happened. And I'm like, all right, we're coming back. We got 4 episodes to wrap this up.
Oh,
I'm
I think I know what you're saying.
so excited. And I'm like, what's going to happen? Like, it's going to be so dramatic. It's going to be so good. And we get the fucking Ghostfacers.
That would have been horrible during that time. Yes. That
Yeah,
would have
if you
been
were watching
horrible.
it.
Yeah, knowing what
Yeah.
was coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was so mad. I was
Mhm.
so angry. I was like, really? We're going to waste one of these precious 4 episodes that we have left in the season?
Oh my gosh, she
No,
might be
Sandra,
on
no,
track.
Sandra, don't.
Okay, I'm not saying it.
Don't say a word because I want to see what the second one is. Don't say a word just for now.
Okay.
I want to see what
Okay.
the second moment is.
Okay. I'm
Okay,
thinking.
so the
Okay.
second one was in season 7 when Dean killed Amy.
Mm.
Fair.
I
Very
was
fair.
furious.
Mhm.
Furious. Because I was
Yeah.
like, that is completely out of character. Dean would not do that.
Mm-hmm.
He would not do that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Yeah. He's learned,
And-
right? I feel like he's
Yeah.
learned at that point. Yeah.
Dean
Yeah.
understands shades of gray at this point. And she was
Mhm.
killing criminals. She was killing bad people. And she
Mhm.
only did it temporarily. And I think Dean could understand that. I mean, of course, there are a lot of instances where Dean should have understood because he would do it for Sam, right? He would have done that for Sam.
Mm-hmm.
And he wouldn't have had any recriminations about himself. So, and the other thing was that he had the audacity to kill her and then let the kid go. Like, what? That
Yeah.
kid is going to have to survive doing the same thing that his mother did. Like, now he
Yeah.
doesn't have anybody to feed him. Like, she was taking organs from dead people to keep him fed.
Mm-hmm.
Now he does not have that option. So you're literally killing his mother who was trying to keep this kid alive, and now you're going to turn the kid loose, and he's going to have to go out and actually kill people because his mom is no longer there to feed him. And I was just irate over the entire thing. Plus, Dean went behind Sam's back. And then, a couple episodes later, Sam apologizes to Dean. What the fuck are you apologizing for, Sam? You did nothing wrong. Like, oh, I was so mad about that whole thing.
Yeah.
That's really funny you say that because we recorded an episode before this one, and we were talking about the season 15 episode Last Holiday. And one of the reasons that I really like that one is it shows the growth of the characters. Mrs. Butters goes dark side, like not really dark side, but like a little bit, just murdery on the weekends, just a little bit. But they let her go at the end. They're not like season 2 and 3. Sam and Dean would have been like, oh, she's evil, she's a monster, we have to gank her. But they just let her go, and that's I like it because his character goes. So that's really interesting. That's really, really interesting. Not the episode in season 13 where Dean leaves Sam in a cave of vampires and just lets himself be pulled away.
You know what? That did not piss me off. And I'll tell you why. Because it was so out of character that I looked at that and I went, that's just the writers. Like, I'm looking directly at the writers right now. This would never happen. I couldn't even be angry about it because it was so stupid. I was like, yeah, this is dumb. This would never in a million years happen. I can't even be upset about it because this is just bad writing.
You just fucked up so hard that I just feel sorry for you. Like, I'm not even mad. I just feel bad for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, how is it possible for you to fuck this up this badly? Dean would never leave him, ever.
Yeah. No, that's a pivotal, like, Michael Dean pisses me off because I'm like, you did this to us once before. How dare you do it to us again? I feel robbed. And the leaving Sam in the vamp cave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
okay, Sandra, now you can go.
Do you know which one I'm going to go about? Because we
we
always talk about this.
I thought that might have been Nick's second one, so I was like, wait.
Because we're always about in season 15. Because you're talking about like the writer's strike, and then Ghostfacers like this totally like random, not the plot's not moving along. And we talked about season 15. I think it's like the 4th or 5th episode to the end where they're already like doing weird shit in season 15. Like they're not really addressing. They're kind of just floundering about. Their plot's not happening. And then they have that Drag Me Away From You episode where they go back to like this hotel and they're and I'm just like,
flashback episode.
What are we doing here? Nothing's happening. And I was we Kasey and I are it was a waste of an episode. And a lot of
I remember that. Yeah. I was like, why did we need to do this episode?
Well, because the boys have to be mad at each other again. That's
of course. But that's the 15 was the only episode me and Sandra watched live because we got into it like hella late. So like season 3, we knew there was 4, 5, 6, 7. Like it wasn't as tense. But we were in group chats and stuff on Twitter, like, what the fuck is this? What is happening? We're 4 episodes from the end, and you waste 40 minutes of my life with it.
Yeah. No, you know what though? I if I had gotten in as late as you had, I'd probably feel the same way. But I had been watching for so long that I'm just like, okay.
Season 3 had prepped you.
You'd been through this in season 3. You were like, I know what's happening.
3. Yeah.
Oh
gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and just the time in between. I mean, I would think too, like the after season 3, that would have been the hiatus, I think they called them, like the hiatuses and stuff. Like that would have been really, and not even knowing if it was going to come back based on what was happening with the writers, and then just leaving that like that must have been torture. Yeah, I feel like
It wasn't until after, I think, well, actually season 3, did it get early renewal? I feel like the first 2 seasons we didn't know. And then after season 3, at least we knew every year they got early renewed. We knew ahead of time. So that was nice. But I think in 3, we didn't really know yet. So,
okay.
Yeah. That fucking, I can imagine the literal frothing of I don't even know what's going to happen at the end of the season. We've got 4 episodes left to go and fucking waste my time on a shitty monster of the week.
Oh yeah. And it's not even Sam and Dean are barely in it. I mean, comparatively to other episodes, they're barely in it. And I'm like, we should be focusing on them. What are we doing?
Yeah.
What are these fucking kids? I don't care. Fuck these kids. These kids are assholes anyway. Fuck them kids. Like these kids are assholes anyway. Why do I care?
I'm gonna make a shot out of that. Yeah. 100%. I don't like any of the Ghostfacers episodes, so I'm fully with you there.
Yeah.
I do like them, but I could imagine the frustration of like that episode in particular happening, like when it did, like in the middle of stuff. So yeah, I think it's nice to be able to binge at a certain point. I mean, like I was one of those people like, oh, this show is finally getting ready to end. Let me decide to watch it now. And I can't imagine like every year just
the
sticking
stress,
with it.
Man, I wouldn't have made it through.
Was there one, I mean, besides season 3, like an ending, like a finale that you're just like, what the hell? Like, what do we have to, like, I don't know what's going to happen. And you were just like, this is ridiculous. I have to wait 3 months.
Ridiculous? Well, I mean, so I felt like season 2 wrapped up nicely because they didn't know if they were getting renewed. But season 3, the end of season 3, I did not expect Dean to die, guys. I really did not expect that. I thought Sam was going to do something and save him, and I thought there would be consequences from it, but I thought Sam was going to save him. So when he died and went to hell, I was like, what?
Yeah.
And it was also very emotional because, like, you know, he got torn apart by the Hellhounds. I still can't hardly watch that scene. It upsets me so much. And then, you know, he's in hell screaming for Sam, and it was brutal.
Yeah.
It's brutal. And I'm like, oh my God, what is happening? Like, this wasn't supposed to happen.
Oh, I have a really awful behind the scenes about that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when they were filming, when Dean's all suspended on the chains, when they were filming it, they kind of had to like leave Jensen like that for a period of time. I can't remember what they were fucking doing, but he was like, his harness had shifted or something, like on his pelvis, and he was like, I was crying, I was in so much pain, and I couldn't get, like, nobody could come and get me down. There was nobody there. I just had to be suspended.
God, they left him alone
in pain. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a similar story. Not quite as sad, but there's a similar story from behind the scenes of Lord of the Rings. When Merry and Pippin are with the Ents in Fangorn Forest, and obviously they built like a mechanical tree, I guess, for them to sit, for the actors to sit in. But once they were in there, they couldn't really come down until they were done. So when everyone went for lunch, they just kind of had to just like chill out there. Just
oh my
kind of
gosh!
Wait for everyone to come back. Yeah,
I don't think that would be allowed anymore. I don't think that would.
No, probably
not.
And I don't think necessarily that they left Jensen like entirely alone, but it was probably like we can't get you down because we're gonna have to reset everything, and it's gonna fuck up like
time,
prosthetics and the time and everything. And can you just, to be fair, he probably didn't tell anybody that he was in pain until it was over.
Yeah.
But I do,
I mean, that's
like, that is some method acting right there.
Yeah.
He is crying up a
But
storm.
I don't know, must have been a clip from a con or something, but I remember him saying that like something had shifted and he was he was crying, he was in so much pain, and he just had to wait there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Poor Jensen, what a ledge. What an absolute ledge.
Yeah, for real.
So I think on the same vein with thoughts on the show, do you have some favorite characters outside of Sam and Dean?
I mean, I love a lot of the characters on the show. It's hard to pick. I'm bad at picking favorites.
Okay.
I do love Castiel. I know that is just saying that can be controversial, but I do love Castiel. I think they kept him around longer than he needed to be there, but I do love him.
Do you like early Cass? Do you like later Cass, or do you like the whole arc for Cass?
I like Cass all the way through, but I do see like his storylines were being stretched out, and they were just finding ways to fit him in, and that's just, he's a fan favorite, so they're going to do that, and that's what it is. But I do love his portrayal of Cass. I love like Cass's like innocence and like his deadpan sense of humor, and but good Lord, that man makes bad choices, like just terrible choices, and I'm always like, God, Cass, again, you're like a child, like, come on, man.
But that was fun. It was
fun. It was.
I far preferred Castiel before the Metatron like info dump, when he was genuinely like, I don't understand that reference.
Right. After he got pop culture references, he was a little less funny.
That was a little less fun. Yeah. Yeah.
I love Bobby. Bobby's like just so like crunchy and crotchety, and I just love that so much.
Bobby.
There are a lot of early seasons characters that I feel like had so much potential to be explored more, and we kind of lost that, because they died early.
Yeah.
Like I loved Henriksen and Gordon Walker. Even Joe and Ellen, man. Like,
oh, I can't watch that episode.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
That episode's rough. And I love Charlie. So,
lots of good choices. Lots of great choices.
Good choices. Yeah.
Any baddies that you particularly like?
Oh, villain wise?
Yeah, that you love to hate.
Dude, it's Azazel, 100%. Oh, that I hate?
Yeah.
Oh, I loved Azazel. Okay, sorry, I misunderstood. Oh my gosh, baddies that I hated. Trying to think through the seasons of what the baddies were.
Because, like, would Crowley be on a love him or hate him kind of a situation?
I mean, I love Crowley. He kind of goes back and forth between love and hate in the earlier seasons, but then when we get to later seasons, he's pretty much just an ally.
Yeah.
So,
how about Rowena?
It's back and forth. I love Rowena.
Okay.
She's so great. And a lot of that is probably Ruthie's performance of her, but I just love, I love her.
I
She's
hated her in the
like
beginning, and then I like grew to love her. So I mean, I think she did a
Same.
great thing about
yeah,
like you understood her motives for it, but you know, still she was just so powerful, and she just had this like, you know, it's me first. I've got to make sure I'm taken care of, like with all the stuff that she dealt with, and she just was like, she's a badass. And it was like, yes, you know, she never could quite tell. You know, I don't think she
right.
was particularly an ally, but I just love that, you know, well, we got to work with her. And then the bond, I think, I don't know bond, but like the respect, you know, that she and Sam, I think, had for each
hmm
other towards the
I
end.
loved their
Really great.
friendship.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
were definitely fucking behind the bookshelves. I ship Sam Wiener hard. They were
Yeah.
fucking behind the bookshelves. Look, historically, Sam has a thing for little tiny itty bitty women that can dominate the shit out of him. And I will die
Yeah.
on that hill.
Yeah, I could see it.
Yep. Sam and Jodie, Sam and Rowena, Sam and
Yeah.
Eileen.
Yeah, I like
I'm sure
Sam and
there are
Eileen too.
others. I'm sure there are
Yeah.
other little tiny women. I can't think of
Probably.
any.
I mean, he married a little tiny woman, so
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's kind of that's kind of what. Yeah, Ruby. Yeah, I'm
Hey,
sure there were
married
other
Ruby.
tiny little women that dominated the fuck out of him. Hell, he married one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, yeah. What'd you say,
Probably-
Sandra? Lucifer?
Yeah, I said Lucifer. Interested.
Oh, Lucifer. Well, I was going to say probably my least favorite villain out of the entire series is probably Michael Dean, even though Jensen's playing him. I just feel like there wasn't a lot there. The writing was
Mm-hmm.
kind of not as great at that point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Could have been
Yeah.
great, but that kind of left me cold.
Mm-hmm.
Lucifer. Oh my God, I loved Lucifer in season 5. He was kind of fun in season 7. He was tormenting Sam, but you know, and that got worse. But the later seasons, Lucifer, I was like, okay, why are we bringing him back again? Like we're just recycling stuff at this point, and it's not as good as it was. And honestly, you're kind of taking away the power of the earlier stuff by doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I loved him in season 5, though. I thought he was a great villain, fantastic villain. Mark
Yeah.
Pellegrino just did such a fantastic job.
He did do a really good job with him. Yeah.
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 100%.
Absolutely.
100%. Sandra, I really feel like we're dancing around the next question, babe.
What are we? What question is it? What's the question? I don't even know what the question is now. What are we doing?
No, the next question is when we start to get into like fanfic and stuff like that. And I just really feel like we're dancing around it at this point. Can we just dive in now?
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, because
Yeah.
I was trying to tie it in because you'd mentioned that once you got into Supernatural, you were like, I think you mentioned like LiveJournal was talking all about it. So I'm assuming you were into fan fiction way before Supernatural. So when did your love of fan fiction start?
Well, technically, I was writing fan fiction when I was like 11 or 12 about like Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man, and yeah, I'm not even kidding. I did kind of like a Bambi AU. That book had a very profound effect on me as a child, and I kind of wrote my own AU of it.
Did you fix it?
I did.
Okay, good. Good.
I did. That book is so dark and just heartbreaking.
I'm sorry. Can someone fill the baby in? My knowledge of Bambi comes from the Disney show. What needs to be fixed?
It's just like really bad things happen, and it's a very sad ending. You should honestly read it. It is a great, great story.
I will pick up a copy. Yeah, no. The only thing I know about Bambi is that it was a Disney movie. I know.
Yeah,
I was like, I
it
don't
was
know.
Disney-fied. It was, made
Right.
happier.
I was like the Hunchback of Notre Dame, where they were like, "This is awful," and then they made a movie out of it, and everyone was like, "Oh, that's a nice story," and you're like, "No, it's awful."
Exactly. But actual fan fiction, I picked up a copy of a zine at a con. It was Beauty and the Beast, the TV show from the 80s. I was really into that show, and I picked up a zine about it, and that was my first experience. And then, when the internet came along not too much longer later, this was like 96, 95, something like that. Then there was a what do they call that? When you have a newsletter that goes out through email. I forget. There's a term
just like
for it.
just an e-newsletter?
Like a mailing list, basically, that I was on.
Yeah.
I got into that for Beauty and the Beast, and I was like, people are writing these great stories. And then I had always been an X-Men fan, a big fan of the Uncanny X-Men comics growing up, and also had a profound effect on my life. And I got into X-Men fandom as I got more into the internet and I found forums, and then I began writing fan fiction in X-Men fandom, and it kind of went from there.
I was wondering, did you do any? So you said you start with Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man, and then there was there was X-Men. Was there any other original, like just original writing, or was fan fiction kind of like where you started? Like, you know, you really just focused a lot of your writing, or did anything happen like in between or currently on the original fiction side?
I mean, when I was younger, yeah, I did. I tried to set out to like write something, a story of my own. But I don't know. There's something about being inspired by the material that would just like, it would spark an idea that would come from reading something or watching something else. And I'd be like, oh, I could really explore this. And yeah, so a lot of it was just fan fiction. I have written, I feel like my J2 stories a lot of times are original stories, because they're not pulling from any universe. It's, you know, something that I have to make up, and a lot of times it's just the real world. So there's not a huge amount of world building depending on the story. I did finally set out to try to write an original story. I had an idea for the trilogy, and it was just so hard, and the world building, and it was very tedious, and it got really long. And once I get to a certain point in the story, I'm just like, I don't even know if this is good anymore, because I'm like, you know, like 90,000 words into it, I don't even know what's happening. Like, I do know what's happening, but it's like, you kind of lose track of how good something is once you get past like 10,000 words. And I just put it down, and I finally was like, you know what? I need to finish this story. I'm going to convert it into a J2 story. I'm going to sign up for Big Bang, and that's how I'm going to finish it. And that was Obscura Rasa. And it's not one of the most widely read ones that I've done. Because it is very unique, and there is a lot of world building, and it does read probably more like original fiction than a lot of my other works. So I get why it's not quite, you know, as popular as some other things. I still have it in my head that I need to re-edit it and, you know, try and get it back out there, because I feel like I should at least try to publish a book before I die, right? Like
5 million words in fanfic. I think you've got at least a good 75 or 80 that you could get yourself an original piece put together. Absolutely.
Hey, and there's no rule saying that you can't change the names on a fanfic that you've written and like file off the serial numbers and go, look, it's
which is a lot easier. Like you were saying, I think J2 makes that easier, I feel, like you said, because you are building, you know, you're building out a world of characters based off of, but it's not as pigeonholed with Sam and Dean, where, you know, like people would immediately clock that, you know, that connection and stuff too.
Because there's a whole world built there with rules and, you know.
Yeah.
So
I didn't really put this in because I realized I was just pounding in all of like your stories and your works, and didn't really talk too much about the fandom and that aspect of it. But you were talking about like how sometimes you were working on this original project and you kind of like, I don't even know what it's about anymore. Do you have a lot of people that you bounce ideas off of within the fanfic community? Like what kind of a writer are you? Do you like taking a thought and then going with it, or do you get prompts? How does that work for you within fandom and fan fiction?
Okay, so I used to have a lot of people, or a circle of people that I would bounce things off of. We would bounce things off each other, and it was very creative, and I love that. And I miss it. I don't have it anymore. Back in LiveJournal, there was much more of a sense of community, I guess. And I used to love that. Sometimes I come up with ideas of bounce and people would add to it. And, you know, then I'd be like, oh, but if that happens, then this could happen. And I love that energy. That's, I love to write like that. A lot of times these days I have like, I have one person that I talk to generally about stuff, who we talk on the phone all the time. And that is, Trendy Kitty. I don't know if you guys know her.
Kasey?
She used to do the SPN newsletter.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
And we talk on the phone all the time, and she's not really a writer, so she doesn't always add a whole lot to it, but at least I can bounce my stuff, and then that can get me going and get my brain working and go, oh, okay, but if I do that, then I can do this. And so that helps. But yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of stories that I write these days are kind of in a vacuum, and I hate that. That does make it harder. It makes the process slower, and it makes it a little more tedious, honestly.
I was going to ask too then, because I mean, you've been in the fandom since the beginning and been at like the start of like the fan fiction aspect of it. So how have you seen, like from the LiveJournal days, did you feel like the sense of community just kind of got fractured and kind of like, did it kind of like just pull apart? And then where did you, because I know you're on Tumblr. So
Yes.
when did you start to notice, because you said you had that more back in LiveJournal, was there a certain point in time, or did it just be because it was life and then, you just kind of like got back into it? Or when did that kind of change for you?
I feel like the community on LiveJournal started to kind of dissipate somewhere around 2011, 2012. That was when it was very noticeably going into decline, I think. It was beginning to. And I started on Tumblr in 2012, I think it was, because I felt like, okay, well, there's not as much activity here. I mean, there was still a good amount of activity, but it had definitely fallen off from what it was when I, like, in Supernatural fandom from like 2008 to 2010. That was a crazy period of time.
I can only imagine what that was like. My gosh, because I mean, all the bangs and all of the stuff and all of the creativity, just like you were saying, just like feeding off of each other. Because like Kasey and I keep going, man, we missed the heyday because like there was so much that feels like
we could have done with getting into this like a good 7 years before we did get into it. Let's not pay any attention to the fact that I was still in school when Supernatural aired.
I know.
So
I know, and I was I should have been on the train, but the Dean train did not. I didn't know about Dean. I should have, but I didn't.
So it just kind of pulled apart. People dropped off. Some people went away completely. Some people moved to other fandoms. Some people moved to other platforms. And at that time, also social media was really picking up. Like you had Twitter was getting big. You had Tumblr, which was another alternative for people to go to, and that was really crazy then too. Oh my God, Tumblr's heyday was crazy as well. I do know that like it was more on Tumblr, although it still wasn't what it used to be. But then when Discord started happening, then everybody's kind of, locked away privately. And so there's not as much of a sense of community unless
Which
you're
is
actually
hard.
in there. It's
If you
hard,
don't know about it.
Oh, and the other big thing that happened, of course, was AO3.
Yeah.
LiveJournal used to be the only place we could post our stuff, really, unless we hosted our own website. I mean, there was fanfic.net, but there was all kinds of issues going on with that where they, were like, oh, no more porn and, eradicating
It's amazing
stories.
these websites that get famous off the porn and then they're like, we're done with the porn.
Yep. Because then
you think everyone's here for?
They want to make that money off advertising. That's what happens.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But then AO3 came along, and I think that also contributed to the drop off on LiveJournal because now we have another place to put our stories where they're safe.
Yeah.
And LiveJournal very much made clear that we were not safe there. We knew that for sure after like 2008. But for a while, it was still the only place we had. So,
yeah.
No, I was doing my research and I was looking on AO3 and I saw your fics. And then I was like, okay, LiveJournal. And then I checked on LiveJournal. I was like, holy shit. I'm like, you've got so many more stories on LiveJournal that I said, Kasey, I said, did you know?
I did not. LiveJournal confuses me more than Tumblr confuses me, to be fair.
Well, I do have a master list. So there is a list of links that you can just click on and read. It makes it easier.
Yeah. So
you don't have to search.
I can't just leave kudos for you.
Actually, LiveJournal has added likes, so there is that.
Oh.
Yeah. I get one every now and then.
Maybe you'll see me in that then. Maybe not. It'll just be like guess because no.
So I think the one thing about AO3 is like I could tell that you had uploaded, stories probably not when you had first written them because I'm sure they first made their debut on LiveJournal. When was your first Supernatural story? Like how soon had you been watching that then you started writing?
Okay, so let me tell you about my journey.
Yay!
So I did start watching as of episode 3, and then I watched every week, and I loved the show, but I didn't have that draw to go get into fandom when that started happening for me when I kind of fell in love with the show was season 2.
Okay.
And
Oh.
heart hit me real hard, like all the emotion in that one. And then, of course, All Hell Breaks Loose 1 and 2. I was so invested at that point. I went, okay, I'm going to go find some stories about this show. I think I had dipped my foot in the pool for case fic before.
Okay.
And because I really love, like, the cases and stuff. And I wanted to read about them tracking monsters and, like, their dynamic. And what I discovered was that there was not a lot of Jen in the fandom. It was all Wincest. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't read that. That's too weird. I'm like, oh man, I can't, like, I'm not necessarily anti that, not necessarily anti-incest, but I'm like, I just feel like that would weird me out too much. And so I did find one that was like Sam Dean, but it was rated R. I'm like, okay, I could probably deal with rated R. Like, that's not getting too deep. Well, it turns out that just that one chapter was rated R.
Okay.
A couple of the chapters were rated R, but there was one that was adult, and I hit it, and I went, "Oh my God!" I was like, this is actually kind of bad. And I kind of.
That was it.
That's how they get you, man. That's how they get you.
And then I was like, when I started getting really emotionally invested at the end of season 2, I was like, all right, let me take another stab at like there's got to be some more case fic out there. There's got to be some other stuff. And so I slipped, tripped, fell, went all the way down the hill into Wincest, and
Found out it's pretty comfy down there. Like, they got nice couches, they got cookies and shit.
Great.
You're like, it's all right here. Yeah,
it was great. Like the quality of writing that there was in fandom, because there wasn't as much of it at that point. And there was a lot, but it was like it wasn't as huge as it got later. So it was a smaller assortment, but the quality of writing coming out from that amount of people, most of it was just so freaking stellar. It was so well written, and it was so good. And so I tripped and I fell, and I went all the way into Wincest, and I read a bunch of fic, like so much fic, couldn't stop reading. And over the summer between seasons 2 and 3, and then around the time season 3 started, I was like, you know what? I feel like I could do a Buffy crossover with Supernatural. That'd be cool. Like, Faith and Dean, like that's, I've seen like people talk about that pairing. I think I got an idea for that. So my first fic was like a crossover between the 2 universes. And I was like, I don't know if I can actually, write Wincest though. And then I went on, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna try. And I rewrote like a story of season 2. And I actually wrote my first Wincest, and I was like, it was also some of my very first like male that I had written. I had written a little bit in Buffy fandom, but not a lot. I mean, I don't know, you guys know this, but back then there was a big like taboo about writing male. It was a huge thing.
Oh, really?
Yes, it was very frowned upon and very looked down upon.
Like in fandom in general, or in Supernatural, or?
Well, I think in general, but it was definitely like, I think it was across the board, but my experience in particular was I was in Buffy fandom at that time.
Yeah.
And there were people who crossed into other fandoms and stuff, but it was just like a thing that you didn't write slash. And, or if you did, like, people were looking at you funny. And so there was that barrier for me to get past as well, which I just fucking smashed through it. When I got there. And so I wrote that first story. And after I wrote that, I went, okay, you know what? I can do this. And just kind of went from there. And then I was in. I started writing more and more fic from that point. And that was early, very, very early season 3, like maybe like even before season 3 started, I think.
Wow.
Right before. Took me a while to fall in love.
Yeah. So when did you started with Wincest? Then when did the J2 part of it come in? Did that come in?
Okay. All right. Before we get into that, let me just go back. There were 2 things that I wanted to touch on that I think I didn't answer. And one was, how many fics have I written in Supernatural fandom?
Yes.
I went through my LiveJournal and AO3 accounts last night, and I did a count, and I can't say it's 100% accurate because I probably missed something, but it looks like including all the drabbles, the little short ones, and the 1K fics, the 1.5K fics, the 3K fics, like all those little things,
all those
including
guys.
all of that. It's 191 stories.
Wow.
Bloody hell.
Is that the most for you, or do you have another fandom where you've written more, like you think?
Oh God, no. This is the most prolific I've ever been in a fandom. Yeah.
Is that number, does that count SPN and SPN RPF, or just
it counts
SPN?
Everything, including the
Counts
RPF.
everything.
That's
Yeah.
awesome, though. Wow.
That's wild.
I have
Fucking
less RPF stories than I do Sam Dean stories, though.
And just scratching the surface then on AO3, because I was like, Kasey, there's so much more. Wow.
Yeah, a lot of those I have not transferred over to AO3 from LiveJournal.
I can imagine it's a lot of
so
work.
many, and it's like people are going to get lost looking through my stuff, and like,
oh, but that's the best kind of lost, though. That's the best
That
kind
is
of lost.
like 100%. That is, like when you find an author and you're like, oh my God, give me.
Because that's how I am with you now, Nyx. I'm like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, please, because I once I started with Homework Verse, because I'm kind of like J2, but I really do feel like I like Sam and Dean stories more for some reason. And I think it's just because of the boys themselves. They just grab me. So the Wincest stuff. But and you're
Can we save the Homework Verse?
Yes. Well, however you want to do it. Do you want to save it? Okay, we could save it.
I want to. I have thoughts, but I know Nick said there was like a second question, because then I have a follow-up question to that.
Okay.
So
sorry, we are so excited. We are not doing our jobs correctly today. We do.
I promise we're professionals. I promise.
No, you're great. You're fine. I just have a lot. I'm a very big talker. I talk a lot. So
Love it.
So the other thing was, you mentioned that you got into the fandom late, so you read a lot of whoever / reader fics.
Yeah.
I just want to tell you that movement is new since about maybe 2017.
Okay.
And that also was hugely frowned upon back in the day.
Okay.
You did not do self-insert fics. That was like,
really?
No, you did not do that. In fact, the Staring into the Sun story that I wrote was written in second person that refers to you.
Yeah.
I got people were on the edge about that one. They're like, man, this is so close to self-insert. It makes me so uncomfortable, but it's really, really good.
It was.
Yeah, I pushed the boundaries a little bit. So, that's me. I'm always pushing the boundaries. So, yeah.
So what was it about? I mean, again, I guess coming into it late and just automatically assuming that was kind of always
everything was there for us.
But what was
I started with Reader Insert because I was like, I can't read these two guys fucking, because I'll never be able to watch the show the same again. And I kept resisting and I kept resisting and I kept resisting, and I was like, I just really need to see them fuck. And then it didn't ruin the show for me. I was still able to get through the rest of the show, but I was I took one teeny tiny little footstep into that fandom, and something just grabbed me by the ankle. I was like,
that
you
is
live here
how
now.
It happens. Yep. That is how it happens.
Yep.
So it's just, it's interesting because you were saying that the slash was frowned upon, and then
it was, yeah.
Then, did slash just become the be all end all, and then was it that
it
then
had to? There's
reader?
No women in Supernatural.
Well, right.
Yeah.
In Supernatural fandom, it was the
So
norm.
is that what it was? Was it because of just women in general, getting into the story, that people were just because we talk about this about the show too. The boys could not have a girlfriend to save. The girls were just gone,
Right.
Because it was that sort of a carryover into the fiction part of it too. What was it about the reader stuff that kind of people were no, or the self-insert that they just kind of didn't like?
I think it just made people uncomfortable to put themselves in the shoes of the person. Yeah.
Really?
I'm sorry, 2017 internet. You are uncomfortable in the shoes of the person having the entire attention of Sam or Dean or both Winchester. I'm sorry, did that make you uncomfortable? 2017 internet. Oh, how fucking terrible for you.
I mean, 2017 is when it became more prominent, but I'm sure there was, a movement leading up to that. But I know definitely in the aughts and early teens, it was not I think it was also like this idea of, oh, you're Mary suing when you do something like that.
Yeah.
Oh no, again, how awful. Please excuse me while I sit over here with my fan fiction about being ravished by Sam Winchester. Oh, I'm having such a terrible time, lads.
Hey,
Yeah.
it's just people, people.
The internet's a weird place, man.
Well, we had all these, the whole thing with Slash was that people were homophobic, right? That's what that was about.
Yeah.
Self-insert, we were very anti-Mary Sue back in the day. That was a huge thing. So self-insert was part of that. And then we've evolved over time to be more accepting of these things. So now it's not a big deal. But, when you're talking about odds.
Yeah, I don't feel, so then I wasn't off, because I always used to say to Kasey, it's so hard, like, to me to find a lot of, like, good, like, well, for me, I really like the, original characters. So I do like to write like original female characters, and it's hard to find those too. So I'm assuming that were original characters kind of thought about as self-insert as well, or were those okay? It's interesting.
I mean, you had to be careful, right? Because I liked putting in original female characters too. Like, I wrote a lot of Dean OFC, but you kind of had to be careful to make them real people with flaws, or else you were just self-inserting or making them a Mary Sue. So
yeah. Wow, interesting. So interesting. See, this is why I thought talking to you would be so great too, because I'm like, having somebody who's seen the fandom from the start, to like where it's at now, because you're still writing. I saw you posted something just recently. Another, I think it's a J2 that you're working
that
on.
Story. That story. Oof. We could talk about that later if you guys want. That's a whole piece of the story.
Well, I was just gonna like hit on a couple of stories that I've read of yours, and then I think we could go into some of the other questions and then the J2 aspect of it. But I was curious because you got me watching Sons of Anarchy again. So congratulations on that, because after I started reading Thunder and Sparks in the Heart of the Dark, I was like, I remember why I loved that show so much. And then Jax and Dean, where did that idea come from to put them together, to do that crossover?
Okay, so there's this verse called the Biker Verse by Sylvan Witch, and I don't remember how I found it. I think somebody recommended it to me because I used to post on LiveJournal about Sons of Anarchy and watching it, and they were like, "Oh, there's this great supernatural crossover." That's probably what happened, and I read it, and it's one of my favorite stories, and it's very different than what I wrote, because I'm not trying to rewrite what she wrote, but I just love that verse so much, and I had my own idea for how I would like to see a Dean Jax relationship play out, and I was like, "Oh, there's a big opportunity for it in season 6 because Sam's gone."
Yeah.
And so I kind of got the idea from reading her verse, and then I came up with my own take on it, and I loved writing that story. It was so I love them together.
It is. It's so good. I'm almost at the end of the first one, the first part, because I think it's a verse. Do you have a couple other parts to it?
There's only
just like
one other story.
Okay.
It was going to be. I was going to write a second part, but it just never kind of happened. I got caught up in other things, and
When did you write this, like, in relationship to all of your other stuff? Had you already written a bunch of Wincest and J2 when this came up?
Oh my God, yeah. I had written a ton.
My God, the Kasey, Dean bent over the hood of Baby, just like
I know
there's so much, but there's so much stuff about the character too, and what Dean's going through without Sam, and how reminding me of the story of Jax too, and like them filling that space for each other in relationship wise, like almost like a family, that family part that was kind of missing for both of them too within it. But just the characters are so vibrant and but the sex in it, I was like, my God, I'm like, this is amazing. I really I think my favorite one is just the hood, like the Dean bent over the hood. So here's a question:
when they go out to pick flowers,
yes,
right?
I think is it the poppies or
the
something
poppies,
like the poppies?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh! And how they're very just their interactions with each other, and how Dean's like, this is not a chick flick moment or whatever. But then you see the backstory and you get the fill in about no, Dean and Sam, were together and the loss of him and what it does. It's so rich and detailed. And
Oh my gosh, I need this.
you've got to, because I don't even know if you need to necessarily have watched Sons of Anarchy it helps, if you know about what's going on, but I don't think that's a hindrance at all. I think if anything, if you know Dean and you get to experience this character, Jax, I think, from an outsider's perspective without knowing a lot about the story, I think it's just as great. But yeah, I bought season 1 on DVD. I'm like, well, we're going to do this again. So now I'm going to find the rest of Sons of Anarchy and start watching, because I love that show. I thought it was so great of an idea to put them together. It's
They have a lot in common.
They
have
do.
so much in common that it makes so much sense. And even in the bikerverse, I found as I was writing the story that they had even more in common than I realized as I was going along. And I was like, wow, they really do have a lot in common.
Even there's the journal aspect. I was like, duh. I'm like, Jesus. I'm like, there's so much stuff that's going on, like with the father and just, and him, Jax having lost a brother, and stuff like very young situation, and all of that just kind of it felt like they were filling up that spot for each other. And I loved I kind of figured out what was going on once you started like talking about like the case and stuff. I won't spoil it for Kasey, but I was like, oh, this is just a dagger, just another dagger.
It is a massive dagger.
Yeah, massive daggers, but really good daggers. And I was just blown away by that one.
I don't feel like those words go together, friends.
What? Dagger and blown away?
Good daggers.
Yeah, no, they do. It will. I think it twists, but in a really satisfying way. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but it gives you all of you understand why it would hurt, I guess, so much. Like it makes more sense for Dean having to go through this again. The storytelling is very good. I think
he's very broken, and it is very painful.
Yeah,
because he doesn't have Sam anymore, and then the plot development that happens, it's tied very much together, and
and even just the physicality of Dean that you described, like how he doesn't like him just having like withering away a little bit too, but still very, still strong, and, just continuing on, like that kind of, that resilience about him, even in such horrible circumstances, and continuing and stuff. I was there for all of it.
Sam in Mystery Spot. He's a little bit, he's like, he's got very hard and cold.
Yeah. But it's just, it's beautiful.
Calling me intrigued, people.
And then the other one that I started, because we are getting ready to do we're going to do a tags and tropes episode where we're going to talk about like metafics and different things like that. And I found Your Stranger Than Fiction. And that's another one that I was just like, oh my God, this is so great, because the story is, the boys come across, it's like around season 4-ish where they come across the slash fic and stuff between Sam and Dean, and all of these stories start to get Dean's, head thinking about, well, why do they think, we're brothers? That doesn't make any sense. So it starts that line, and then it gets him, I think, being a little more introspective. And then you find out that Sam's been looking into it too, and they both have these feelings that then come out. But then I noticed in the story you did insert yourself a little bit as an author. I thought that was so great. Can you talk a little bit about that, especially with the self-insert and all that stuff kind of like being a thing? When did you write this? Was it around season 4?
Okay, so I had signed up for Big Bang that year, and I was actually writing Who Watches Over Me for Big Bang that year. And then Monster at the End of This Book aired, and Dean was like, what does he say? That's sick? Something like that.
Yeah.
That's the computer. And I took that as a challenge.
I love that.
And I went, really? Dean, you think it's sick? Huh? Let's explore that. And I was talking to other people in the comments, because I used to write a post every week after I watched Supernatural about the episode, about my thoughts, and like, making jokes about certain things. And and I was like, I started talking to people in the comments about it. I'm like, I feel like Dean would, and we got into it. And I got so excited about the idea of doing story, a meta story with Dean in it, because I love meta. I love meta in any show, any story. And I got so excited about it. I went, oh, you know what? Who watches over me? Get out of here. I am writing Stranger Than Fiction. So 6 weeks out from the deadline for Big Bang that year, I changed my story entirely and I began writing Stranger Than Fiction because I was so excited to dive into the meta aspect of the show.
Oh, wow.
And it was the first meta episode. And
Yeah.
it did things for me. I was like, oh, this is just so cool. Like they're fighting fandom and there's so much you could do with this. And so I wrote that story in 6 weeks, except for like 2 of the sex scenes. I left out 2 of the sex scenes for my draft that I sent in. I'm like, yeah, I can fill those in later. It's fine. So,
oh wow, that's impressive.
This is
I was on fire back then.
That sounds
yeah. Just getting hell inspired all over the place.
Yeah, man.
And when I was looking at the end notes, so you had actually like written that before the ending of season 4. Is that correct?
Because it had to be trying to remember. It had to be submitted by May 1st. So it was before the finale aired.
I love the way you ended it.
My ending.
Yeah. It's not the same as the ending of season 4, but it still makes sense.
Very similar.
Great. Yeah, but it's have you read that one, Kasey, or no?
I have not, no.
Okay, that's homework. You definitely got to read that one because that one's a great one too. That one's
I like to listen to authors tell me about their works, and like I get really like inspired when they tell me like where they were and what they think about it and stuff like that. So yeah, I do kind of like to
in this story, the one thing that Dean gets hung up on is about he doesn't understand why people think he's a bottom.
Have you seen yourself, Mr. Winchester?
So
don't know.
That's an interesting thing. Back then, when I wrote this story in 2008, no, 2009. Yeah, 2009. It was the bulk of fan fiction out there at that time was Top Sam. That was like the default, and 90% of the fiction you go out there and read Top Sam. Now I understand it's switched like the other way, and now it's mostly Top Dean. But back then,
point of contention still is who tops and who bottoms is what I heard.
Still
from
very, very contentious in the fandom. Yeah.
Yes. And it always will be. I honestly, I mostly don't care as long as whoever is bottoming is not made out to be like out of character submissive, because that just throws me out of everything. So
yeah. That's kind of a debate that we've had among friends, that like people get in your comments when you write usually bottom Dean, and they're like, oh, Dean would never bottom, he would never be the girl, he's never that submissive. And I'm like,
but I mean,
I'm sorry your sex life sucks. I'm sorry your sex life sucks.
You don't have to be feminine to bottom. That's not how that works.
Yeah. It's gnarly.
But the flip of it, like, again, like how in fandom that, like you said, if it was Top Sam, and now, like, now it's like, there's no bottom Dean. I'm like, people, it's been done. People are doing, like, just be okay with however people are doing it. So crazy.
So I figured Dean's out there reading fan fiction. The bulk of it at that time was going to be Top Sam. And he's like, well, what the fuck, man? Why does everybody think I'm a bottom? I'm not a bottom. So that also made the story funnier, because I had people asking me, like, well, why did you go with Top Dean in this story? I'm like, because it was funny. Because he's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Why do people think? Yeah, it is funny though.
No, but it's so good. The last one that I like just finished, like Staring into the Sun, and that one is like season 3, and you title it like Darker Sam and Doomed Dean. It's not about the girls. The girls are just the excuse. And every chapter, I guess it's getting towards Dean's demon deal like coming due, and Sam is definitely darker in this than he's portrayed on the show. And
oh no, not Dark Sam. What?
Oh no! But then every
we'll never be able to read it.
It's funny how every chapter, like, again, it's like he's pushing the boundaries to get them more and more to the point where they're finally together, and it's not about the girls, not having to use the girls as this barrier. And I mean, they use the girls in some amazing ways to get to that point. Use isn't the right term, because they're definitely all about it and on board with it. But then there's a pegging scene where Dean gets pegged, and Sam is
what, mate?
Yeah, I'm telling you, Kasey. I'm telling you. But what I was like, I was so
Fucking right.
it's
I have to go add some shit to my marked for later list.
it is. I was just I was left trying to figure out how much they need each other. I think was what was just so like they're rickish. They're just going towards this point where they they're going to lose each other, and they're just trying to get to this, just finally like appreciate and get to that point. But like, and Sam is pushing, and Sam is teasing, and Sam is doing all these things, and Dean is like, no, we can't. But like it just keeps going and going and going. How did you come up with that one? And then that was the one with the reader at the end, which I thought was a great way to end it, because then it's an outsider's perspective of what's going on in the moment between them, which was just amazing. Where did that come from? And was that during season 3?
That was during season 3.
Wow.
That was the first really like deep, dark, dirty porn I ever wrote. I had written the first story with Sam Dean coming together, kind of a rewrite of season 2. In the wake of John's death, the two of them come together. Dean's mourning, Sam's there, they find each other, they get together. But even that porn was like, more acceptable porn, I guess, and at least in my head. And so I had this idea, like putting a girl between Sam and Dean was not my original idea. That was a thing back in the day. Like putting a girl in there to kind of give them the excuse to be able to have sex with each other. And so I really liked that idea. I'm a big fan of threesomes. And I was like, oh, well, this would be like the perfect way to do it. Dean's going to die. Sam, I made him darker because I expected Sam to dig into his powers more in season 3 and use those to save Dean, which, as I found out later, was the original plan Kripke had in mind before the writer's strike. Yeah. So I thought it'd be interesting to do that. And then, like, when I first wrote it, it was just a one shot. And I was like, oh, this is a really interesting idea. It'll create a lot of tension. And I started writing it. And then I'm looking at it going, God, this is some dirty fucking porn. This is, I remember I finished the story and I'm sitting there at like 3:00 in the morning rereading it. And I'm going, I really want to post this. Like, but I don't know, man, is it too much? Are people going to think this is too much? Like, this is like, because when you're a writer and you're putting yourself out there, you make yourself vulnerable, and I'm like, this is like not necessarily something that I would do or whatever, but this is a window into my brain that people are looking at, and they may judge me based on that. And so I struggled for a little while before I was finally like, you know what? It's 3:00 in the morning. I'm going to go to bed. I'm just going to fucking post it and we'll see what happens. So I really struggled with posting it, and I finally put it up and I was like, okay, I can't even think about this anymore. I got to go to sleep. And so I posted it on LiveJournal and I went to bed, and the next morning I was like, oh God. Did I get any comments? And I opened my email and I had like 18 comments, and I was like, what the fuck? And I started reading it. Everybody loved it. I was like, okay, whew, all right, good. Yay.
Well, there's so much intensity in it. It's so intense and it's all from Dean's, I think, POV, I think up until like another, a switch off, I think like when you flashback or something like that, I think you go into the beginning. It's amazing.
I did write a few extra fics that kind of were retrospective after the initial 5-part series. I think it's 5 parts. And so people loved it. And this is how I began making real friends in the fandom, was some of the people that came along and read it and loved it started talking to me all the time. And then we started emailing, and then we started doing chats, and they were like, hey, you need to do another part. And back in the day, this was the thing. People were always like, more.
Yeah.
They still are.
Yeah, that doesn't change. I mean, we wouldn't want it to.
I don't get that as much on AO3, but LiveJournal, that was a huge thing. They were like, oh, but what happens next? And I want to see them get together. And I'm like, okay, I could probably do another part. And so I ended up writing another part. And then at that point, it became kind of a game for me. I had a little bit of fun with it because I was like, all right, well, what can I do in this part that's different from the last part where we're getting closer, but we're not there yet? And, the gradual working up to Dean and Sam having sex by themselves and, pushing it a little bit harder each time to get to that point. And so that was a lot of fun. And it really became a series because people asked for it. That's what happened. And I always knew the end game was going to be them having sex.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that chapter. I really had a lot of fun. I'm like, I feel like I really did this justice when they finally did have sex. And and then of course, people are like, oh, but you could still write more of this verse. And I'm like, you know what? I could. So I did write a few extra stories that were a little more retrospective. And then there is one that you mentioned that's in second person that kind of puts a little bit more of a bow on it.
Well, yeah, because I just love seeing them together through someone who's a part of it, but still seeing how intense, crazy, and just all about each other, they are. But I also love too, how much, even with Dean, even with the women involved, he's still the beauty that he sees in the women. I just found a lot of it was it just read like poetry to me. The way you would talk about the girls. There was one actually highlighted it. It was raven dark hair and slow eyes to match. She's whiskey and cigarettes and hard candy, sex and conviction, a live wire that twists, sparking against wet pavement. Dangerous, alive, the pregnant promise of sultry deliverance in her every move. I was like, oh my God. And this whole, the story is just like that. Just every woman, that they meet, he finds that attraction to them, but then incorporating them into this, this race towards getting to Sam. It's it was so Kasey. Where have you been?
You know what? I had shit to do tonight, and I don't have shit to do anymore. Now I'm doing this.
You're doing that. You're doing that tonight. No, yeah. I was just, again, I am so glad I finally I was like, okay, here we go. And now I'm full on in. I will definitely be getting into your LiveJournal master list. I will get into that thing. I will figure it out and I will start reading because there's so many great stories. And that's what I love when you find a writer, that you find one of their fics. They're like, oh, do they have another one? Oh, do they have another one? Oh my God, they have another one. It's just I
have so many.
You've got so many. I'm going to be good for a while. But no, I was just, I'm going to let Kasey now, because I think we could segue into sort of the J2, when did you get into writing J2?
Okay, so I told you about my journey into Wincest and how that wasn't really where I wanted to go, but once I got there, it was great. So I had to draw another line in the sand. And back in the day, there used to be an icon that people used on LiveJournal that was SPN Fandom, where, oh crap, what was it? It was basically saying that RPF is the high ground or something like that. The idea was that, there's a lot of Wincest and fandom, but you draw the line at writing RPF because it's people were weird about that back then too. RPF was kind of weird, you're writing about actual people and so I drew that line and I went, okay, I'm not going to write about the actual people. I'm fully invested in Wincest at this point, and that's great. I can do that, but I'm drawing the line here. And I didn't even really read much J2. I think I had read maybe 1 or 2 stories, and it's and they were stories that were kind of really about them at that point in time, working on the show and getting together. And I was like, I feel a little bit weird about this. So I had that line. I wasn't going to write RPF. But then I had friends.
Friends, the worst people in your life. Yeah.
And one night we were in chat together. I think it was G Chat. Way back in the day, and it wasn't my chat, so unfortunately I went digging for it and I couldn't find it. I could only find the second chat that we did about it, that one of them sent me an email. But we were talking and they were starting to go on about, it'd be really cool, J2 as teacher student, and Jens is the teacher and Jared's a student, and they were doing all these scenarios. And I'm like, that sounds cool. That's great. And they're like, nah, we think you should write it. And I'm like, no, I'm not fucking writing that. I told you guys I don't do
fuck
RPF.
I will. Yeah.
And I resisted and they kept trying to wear me down. And but then I was contributing to the conversation too. And
that's how they get you, man.
And they basically held a gun to my head and were like, "You're going to write this." And I went, "God damn it. Okay, I guess I'm going to write this and make you guys happy." But then I got really excited about it. And I was looking back at the chat at the record that I did have. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember, like, because we were throwing out all these different scenarios of like what would be hot. And it was basically just supposed to be like, PWP, just pure porn.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were throwing out these scenarios of what would like be hot. And they're like, oh, it's Jensen's job though. And I was like, I gotta go spend time with my husband. I might be back. And I came back to the chat and they had left by that point, or maybe I saw it the next day, I don't remember. But they had just continued going on and on and on and on and on and on and on about like what I should write. And
came back to a fully formed story description, like, and this and this and this and this and this.
I mean, yeah, basically that's what happened. And I went, you know what? I could write this, I guess. I was still like on the fence about it. But then once I started, thinking about it, I got excited about it. I'm like, okay, this could actually be really cool. And I'm like, oh, it's just porn, it's not a big deal. So yeah, Homework Verse was my first RPF. That was my first one.
Wow.
Yep.
Is it rude to be like, we'd never have guessed? Because like, it's so fucking good.
Mm-hmm. It is.
So Homework Verse was, I didn't like bring that to Sandra until she sort of started, like after I started writing Wincest, because she's like the best kind of friend. Like I have the best bestie in the world. I'm sorry, everybody else. But I started writing Wincest, so she sort of like started tiptoeing over the line with me. Because she was like, well, you wrote it and I'm going to read it. And I was like, okay. And then I abused the fuck out of that part by starting to write really dark shit that leads to comments like, I don't like this, but I like that you're finding your voice. That is a direct comment that I have from Sandra. I'm going to frame it one day. She's like, this is not for me, but I'm like, you're finding your author voice and I love that for you. Mm-hmm. So she started like tiptoeing over the line. And I was like, you got to read the Homework Verse. Because I knew if I could get her to look at it, Jensen in glasses as a teacher would just like grab her by the ankle and haul her in and I'd have her. I just needed to get her to look at it. And I was like, so it like, Homework Verse comes up a lot, especially when we're talking to people who are like fans of J2, who write J2. Have you read Homework Verse? Yes, of course I have.
That's just the one everybody wants to talk about. That is the one.
Yeah. Sorry, with it.
It's fine. It's great.
We're basic bitches.
No. I love that story. It means like so much to me. We'll talk about it. But like, yeah, it is the one that has endured. And I'm not 100% sure why, but it's great that it has.
Fucking great. Yeah, I'm going to tell you why. It's fucking great. So like every time it came up, I was like, have you read Homework Verse yet? And she's like, nope. And I was like, have you read Homework Verse yet? Nope. Because I knew. I was like, if I could just get her to look at it. He's in glasses, he's a teacher, and he's dumb as fuck, and she's gonna love it. And I swear to God, it wasn't until you like replied to us and you were like, yeah, let's come on for an interview. That's when she fucking read it.
Like, I have homework to do now. I have to read the Homework Verse. And then I was like, oh my God. Yeah, I was just like, hello. I just like Jensen. Yeah, Jensen in glasses. Oh my God. I don't know what it is.
I was right though, wasn't I?
You were.
I knew.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to lie. I think I found Homework Verse, like probably searching for like sub Jared, something like that, some tag like that, just because I go through phases. And I was like, oh my fucking God, Jesus Christ. But I knew it would be Jensen that dragged you in because I'm like, he wears glasses and he's like, so fucking cool. He beats the shit out of Jared in a sexual way, and it's fucking great.
Jensen in glasses was very important to me in that story.
Valid. I like. But Sandra hasn't actually finished it.
So I haven't finished it yet, but I'm okay with spoilers.
She said we're okay with spoilers.
Yeah. Okay, so how far did you read?
To us.
I'm at the point where Jared is getting ready to go to college. And so Jensen has had the conversation with him that, my position here is, just temporary. I'm going to go back and do like into the research and like that field and stuff like that. So I think it's right before prom. is getting ready to
Oh my
happen.
God, you stopped there? Okay.
Yeah, well, and again, like I know, but like
He's
I don't
really
read,
good at doing that.
I don't read very fast, unfortunately. So like for me, it's like I've been juggling a bunch of stuff. Like life too has been kicking my ass this past couple weeks. But I've been like bouncing back and forth between like Thunder and Sparks, and then I finished Stranger Than Fiction. I finished like Staring into the Sun. I did that in one night. I was like, we're just going to, yep, this is what's happening. I'm just reading that.
That's
And
what
so
I'm doing
then-
tonight.
Lord, how do you read that much porn in one sitting? Because I got to tell you, I reread homework verse like in the last 2 days. I crammed in the whole homework verse at every break I had at work.
Oh my
People are like
God.
outside smoking, people talking to me, and I'm like reading fucking
Nyx-
homework verse on my
Nyx-
phone, and I'm like, this is so much porn.
You
Like,
you put me through the ringer with like Staring into the Sun. I was so like I felt like I had like 6 orgasms throughout that story. It was amazing, and I was so spent by the end of it. But it was just
Yeah.
it was. I think it's because, well, at least with like Staring into the Sun, it's it's culminating up to this, this next bit. So I couldn't stop because I had to get to the end of it because like I had to see how each part was progressing them closer too. So I think that's why. But no, I was just like, man, when it's a good, I guess the porn was just like amazing. I have to finish this tonight, and I did.
It's
and I
a
was
fucking.
not. It was not bad. It was not a bad way to spend a few hours reading at all. It was amazing. It was amazing. But no, and the homework verse too. For me, I think just hearing about you writing it. So was this was a point? So okay, and I'm sorry, I'm asking questions about the fandom too. But was it easier for people to see Jensen as the Dom rather than Dean as the Dom back then? Was that kind of a thing too, or did that not matter with J2?
Oh no, a lot of people were top Jared back then too.
Okay.
Jensen was hard to find. It was out there, but.
And was that one of the reasons too why you decided to write that?
So, of course, I'm partial to, Dean and Jensen a little bit more. But my preference is top Dean or top Jensen. So that is what I wanted to write. And I mean, I don't care that much. Like, I wrote a lot of top Sam, and I've written top Jared for like my friends and stuff. And in like Staring into the Sun, it just made sense for Sam to be the top because Dean was not going to go into that willingly.
Yeah.
So, but in this one, I was like, man, I feel like that is well, at least I felt then that is how it would play out in real life. Because, Jared's just this very lively guy and bright and funny. And Jensen is much more reserved, or he used to be a lot more reserved than he is now. He's still more reserved than Jared, but he used to be way more reserved back in the day.
Yeah.
And so it made sense to me that he would be the more mysterious one that, that would top, and Jared would be the one who would throw himself into it. So it made sense to me.
Oh, it was the POV. What was that initially? Did you know it was going to be Jared POV just because of the mystery about, Jensen too? It just had to be that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also tend to write from whoever is receiving bottoming generally. Not always, but most of the time, because I feel like that's where a lot of the interesting stuff comes from. Because they're experiencing all of these things, these emotions and these intense pleasures. And not always. I mean, sometimes I do write from the top point of view, but I just feel like I could get deeper if I'm into the person who is on the receiving end of things.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
Especially
really
in a Dom sub situation. I think the sub's point of view is far more interesting. We do get into Jensen's POV later from the top. And I enjoyed writing that, but I wouldn't want to write the whole verse from that perspective because I just don't feel like it's as rich.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
It definitely makes sense to have it have occurred. I think that way. Like I said, it just lends to the learning more about him anyway. I think you're not going to get that if you're just writing his POV. Then it's like, well, okay, now we know everything that's going on. So I'm liking that. I'm liking learning more about Jensen in the homework verse through Jared, and just Jared's like, yeah, the student teacher thing too. Was there any Like the age part of it. Like, did somebody say, oh, you've got to write it, you've got to write this? Like, Jensen's going to be this age, Jared's going to be this age. Like, was it that specific when your friends started to like help you plot it out?
I can't remember. I mean, Jensen was obviously going to be a little older because he was in a position to teach.
Yeah.
So that was there. I decided early on, I think they wanted Jared to be underage. And I'm like, no, we're not doing that. I want Jared to at least be 18. Because then at least he can consent willingly. There's no questions. Like there's still going to be a power imbalance, but that's part of the hotness of it. But I do want him to at least be of legal consent age because I don't want to dig into that. That's not where I want to go with this story. And then I think I started looking at about how old Jensen should be to know enough to teach and so on and so forth. And then I was like, 26 seems like a good age. And that's like an 8-year age gap. And I'm like, that's a pretty interesting age gap. I mean, nowadays people like throw you out in the street for that kind of an age gap, but then it wasn't that big of a deal. So
I was just amazed. And I don't know if they ever do, because again, I'm not done with it yet, but I'm just amazed at all the stuff they're doing in the room and not getting caught at the point where I'm at. I'm like, okay.
So
whereabouts are you exactly, Sandra? What is exactly happening?
Well, they're getting ready for prom. So Jared's getting ready for prom at this point, but they're doing so much stuff in the classroom.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That kind of thing.
So I did have somebody call me out on that when I was posting the story. And I was like, look, you know what?
Suspending disbelief. I understand
that's totally fair. I'm like, but this is not that story. This is not the story where I'm trying to get them caught. This story is about them. This is not about the real life repercussions of things. So for the sake of argument, there's no window on the door. Okay. There you go.
Oh, just all the fucking, can we just have the pawn, please, people? Like it's not.
Gosh.
I mean, and they had to have sex in the classroom because that's part of what makes it so hot.
Yeah, I know.
So,
I know. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Kasey, your question about the third dot, because I know you'd put that in there.
Yeah, well, we were talking, like me and Sandra were talking about it last night because she'd said to me, she was like, I'm really surprised that it hasn't, like Jensen hasn't done the, no, I'm too old for you, the whole, like, no, it can never be, that kind of thing. She's like, I'm surprised.
Do that later a little bit.
That's what I said. I was like, because I said to her, I was like, where are you? And she's like, oh, I'm here. And I was like, have they had prom yet? I think you said that you were just when Jensen had said to Jared, no, I'm leaving. I'm not coming back. And I was like, oh, well, have they had prom yet? And she went, no. Because like that is around the time when that happens. Okay. And Jensen does have his little, no, it can never be kind of moment. But like what really struck me as interesting is instead of giving us like an unrealistically mature Jared, or mature, like the younger is like unrealistically mature and can absolutely relate to, like, I mean, I know that like was Jensen 24 or 26? 26. That's, I put a question mark. I couldn't remember. Like, 17, 18 and 26 is still a fucking world apart.
It is, yeah.
So instead of giving us this younger character that's like really unrealistic and can totally relate to this like fully grown adult on like their level, you give us a much more emotionally immature Jensen, which I think is really interesting. It's like Jared can't come up to Jensen's level because it's like fucking 8 years, that's a lifetime at that age. But you bring Jensen down, and I think I just think it's such an interesting way to do that, because I think most of those kind of age gap things, do tend to play that the younger is exceptionally mature, but you were like, oh no, he's fucked and he stopped developing at a certain point.
Guys. He's emotionally stunted,
and like, we're gonna try and fix it, but the reason that he can relate to Jared is because he's on the same emotional level as Jared. Jared's not coming up to meet him.
He absolutely is, and you find out why later on, but he basically stops emotionally developing around 16 to 18.
Yeah, and it's a bit tragic. It's like, I really don't want to spoil it for you, Sandra, because it is so
okay.
the journey that you go through. Like it ends happily, you know, but you really go through some shit with these characters, and I love it. And I, you know, like, there's quite a few hit in the face with a truck moments when you, like, especially when we're with Jared and he thinks it's a certain way, and then Jensen will speak and you're like, fucking, where did that come from?
So,
you know,
that's one of the interesting things about writing it, was that Jared doesn't see the cracks in Jensen, but the audience is supposed to see the cracks in Jensen.
Yeah.
That was the tricky part about that. Because I was rereading it, and of course I'm older now, but I was rereading it the last 2 days, and I'm reading the original story, and I'm like, damn, Jensen's cracks are just so freaking obvious to me now. And I felt like they were kind of obvious back in the day, but not like super obvious, but you were supposed to get the impression that there's more going on in there, and he does have some feelings going on in there. But now I read it and I'm like, wow, I think it was like chapter 4, like or maybe 3. It was 4. And I was like, damn, just your cracks are showing, baby. Like, I can see what's going on in there. And a lot of people commenting were like, dang, by the end they were like, dang, I didn't know if you could turn this around because he was so cold. I didn't know if I was going to be able to get on board with their relationship. And I'm like, really? But I tried to show you that there was stuff going on in there. Like,
I did. I mean, I don't get him as being cold. I just get it as him wanting that control part of it, not the cold aspect of it. You can tell that Jared's getting in there, like he's needling. He's finding those cracks, and or else it's no. I don't get the cold aspect reading it at all. I just
Right. And when I started writing it, Jensen was supposed to be a little colder based on, I'm going to tell you about my friend Alex, who held my hand through this whole story. Not held my hand, but he was very much a driving force in helping me write the story. A lot of ideas that he had became incorporated into the story, and it used to originally be dedicated to him on LiveJournal. And so Alex used to be much darker fic writer back then, very like sad, tragic stuff. And so when he would lay out these scenarios for me, it was much more on the colder side of things. And what would happen was I'd be like, oh, well, that's kind of a cool idea. And not all the scenarios were his idea, but some of them were, and he would lay them out, and I'd be like, "Oh, that's kind of a cool idea. I think I'll do that." And then I would start writing it, and I'm like, I just can't do this coldly. Jensen's got to be passionate about this. And like one of the scenes in particular that I remember was the one where Jared goes to his house the first time, and Jensen starts asking him questions, and he's like, "For every question you get right, you can kiss me." And that was supposed to be much more of a cold power play when I had discussed it with Alex. And when I started writing it, I went, nah, man, no. We gotta see him losing it a little bit here, like, and getting way more passionate about it. So he ended up, the entire story, he's way more passionate than he was ever intended to be in the beginning. And I'm like, that's just who this character is. He's not cold. That's part of the problem, is that he's not.
Yeah, it's a very, like, it's a front, it's a mask, and it's difficult, man. When you start breaking that down, when we start seeing who Jensen is, you're kind of like, oh, I want to stab somebody though. I really want to.
Well, I don't even know if the rigidity, like, to me, it's this rigidity too that I don't know if it's necessarily synonymous with cold. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like that persona of him. I don't know. Like,
it's all about control.
It's like a mask, and then I see that as holding something else back and wanting it, and then figuring that out, and then Jared, I think, just like obviously just throws him for a loop. I think when it comes
he
to
does
all that,
not understand Jared at all.
Yeah,
like, why are you? Oh, okay, all right.
Lots of questions, and Jared's like, I don't know. I just, I wanted to see you. Like, it's a very like matter of fact, and like, not, yeah, like I guess maybe trying to figure out like what his other motive is, and there's no
Motives
other
are.
motive,
Yeah.
you know, and it's just very out there. This is what I want, you know, and yeah, it's
Jensen doesn't understand things that aren't based on motivations very well.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
Yeah, it's his background is very self-transactional, isn't it? That's how he's learned
yes.
this kind of thing. It's all a transaction. So Jared coming in and being like, no, I just want to see you. I just want to hang out. Like I just want to I just want to do this or I just want to do that. And you can see Jensen's being like, I'm so fucking confused. Oh my God.
Oh goodness. No,
It is one of my favorites though.
I'm looking
Like-
forward to finishing it. Yes, indeed. And I'm so sorry it took me so long to read it now.
Are you more inspired to finish it now though?
Oh yeah. I mean,
Not that you weren't inspired to finish it before, but
again, just
like
life.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of like I'm gonna go fucking read it when we're done. Jesus
how many-
Christ.
So is the first part, is that the biggest part, and then are there just like different? Because this might tie into my verses question. Because I feel like with that, were you then, when you were done with it, you're like, oh no, I've got more stories to tell about these two.
So yeah, the first story is definitely the biggest. There are some bigger stories later, but I looked at the word counts last night, and it's like one of them is like 43,000, another one's like 34,000. So none of them are as big as the original.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them are one shot stories. When I wrote that story, I got to tell you that I feel like those characters existed in another universe and I was their conduit, and they just kind of told their story through me because I just knew who those characters were. They lived in my head. I heard them talking. Like when I was writing that story, they were in my head all the time, talking. And so I really feel like they lived and breathed in me. And when I finished the story, I wasn't really ready to be done, but I wasn't sure what else I had to tell. Well, then, of course, there was the list. So people were like, oh, you got to write stories from the list. And I'm like, you know what? Okay. And then my friends got in on it, and they wanted, like, Alex wanted to write a short story in the verse. And my friend Yvette wanted to write a short story in the verse. And they did that. And then, so they wrote 2 companion pieces, well, 1 each, and then I wrote a companion piece from Jensen's point of view about the 3rd chapter, because people were like really interested in what was going on in Jensen's head that day. And then
I mean, I can't think why we'd want to know what was going on there. It's a mystery.
So then I did do a story from the list, and I was like, there's no way I'm doing all 23 things on this list, guys. Did you see how much porn I've already written here?
guys,
how much porn do you need?
I'm out of porn at this point, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So there were a few short stories after that. I did the 45 facts thing, which used to be a thing on LiveJournal. People would be like, you'd put up a thing and like ask me 3 questions about a story that I've written, and I had a bunch of those for homework verse. So what I did was I just copied out all my answers and made the list of 45 things you didn't know.
Gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of little things in that didn't make it into the story, and things that were like after the fact and stuff like that. But I'm trying to think, there were a couple of one-offs, and then what was next? I think it was the next big one I wrote was probably, so there's the one where they do the collaring ceremony. That was a big one. And then there's one where they go out to the club and Jared's wearing the collar. And those were longish. And then people wanted to know Jensen's point of view, and I was like, it would be really interesting to dive into his point of view. He's got a lot of shit to deal with, so maybe I should dig in and see about that. So that was the next really long story, is the one where they go on vacation and Jensen deals with all his history. And that story was so hard to write. That was so hard. Getting in his headspace,
that was
one of the hardest things I ever did. So back then, when I started writing homework verse, I've always liked Dom sub stories. But I got to tell you that back then, it was a lot of those Dom sub stories that were out there, very like borderline abuse into very abusive. And I didn't like that. And so when I started writing this story, I went, this is an opportunity for me to show what that relationship can be like with love.
Yes.
Because Yeah, because I used to be into the gothic industrial fetish club scene back in the day, and I had familiarity with that lifestyle. And I didn't like the way that it was portrayed in fandom at that time. Maybe I wasn't reading the right things, but even some of the big writers back then, it was like very abusive, I felt like. And that can be hot in a certain way, but like I
Yeah.
just feel like the emotional component is such a part of everything that I write because it's so important. Like if I don't care about the character, then I don't care. So for me,
100%.
yeah. So for me, when I'm writing, I want to dig into that character where I want to know who they are, where they're coming from, what their emotions are. And so when I wrote this story, I actually set out to tell a loving dom sub relationship and show a healthy one because nothing out there that I had read up to that point had been healthy. So that was actually one of my goals. And that's also why kind of Alex's idea of Jensen was not quite the Jensen that I wrote. And that Jensen, I want to just say real quickly, he was based on the idea initially of, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the original Dangerous Liaisons.
Yeah,
I have.
Yeah.
I love that movie. Well, the idea was that he was John Malkovich's character in that movie to a certain degree. And yeah, so it was like a much colder idea of him. I'm like, that's not who I want this character to be exactly. But yeah, the whole part at in the movie where he's like, it's beyond my control. It's beyond my control. It's beyond my control. That did get worked in a little bit into the story, but not in the same way.
Gotcha.
No, that's like I don't know. I think 50 Shades did something in that it kind of normalized kink a little bit. But in the worst fucking way possible, because the way it normalized it was people who, have experience with that lifestyle, live that lifestyle, whatever part, were coming out going, fucking not like this.
Oh,
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, me too. I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
hate.
And this
so
is what
angry.
gets popular? Like, it's like the worst story.
Well, I mean, the thing is, it, rightly or wrongly, it played into that, that trope of the handsome rich guy, didn't it? And everybody was willing to look the blatant abuse of the female character and her blatant abuse.
Right.
Yeah. But no, I wonder if it was kind of similar, that people that were writing those kind of BDSM dom sub stories just didn't know, because it just wasn't like, if you weren't in the scene, you didn't know, I guess.
If you weren't in the scene, you don't know. From the outside, it looks very different than what it actually is if you're just watching. Yeah.
And I mean, like, don't get me wrong. I'm fully down for a scene that can look very abusive from the outside, but I want to see snuggles afterwards.
Right.
I want to see snuggles and care and protein bars and hydration and love. It's just fucking somebody beating somebody else. That's not fun.
Right. Yeah. And I always was very careful to make sure that to show, even in the early stages, that Jensen was looking out for Jared in the sense of like, are you okay? Touching him and being like, are you all right? Are you in any pain? Like,
no, it's very, even in those early scenes when there's not really much of a connection beyond, I want to fuck my hot teacher. It's excellent etiquette. There's no doubt that it's done with care. Even right from the start, it's fucking most excellent. Gonna dip into my like Wincest J2 question. Because I'm always interested when people write for both of those fandoms. How do you choose? Like, if a plot idea like comes into your head, if you get a little plot bunny, like, do you just instinctively know, like, oh, this is Sam and Dean, or this is J2, or do you have an idea and you think, oh, this would fit better in this universe or that universe? Like, how do you choose?
I generally know right out of the gate if I have a plot bunny, if it's going to work for Sam, because Sam and Dean are in a universe that has a history and rules and things like that. So if there's a hunting scenario, or they're getting out of the hunting life or whatever it is, of course, obviously that's going to be Sam and Dean. If it's more of an original story, it's going to be J2. So it's going to be more of a like set in this world, real life story. It's going to be J2.
Yeah. Do you prefer to keep your Wincesters related then?
I was going to ask that too.
Yeah, so there was never like there's never a scenario where you pluck Sam and Dean into an AU of Homework verse, and that just never exists because they're meant to be brothers, and that's just how it do be.
Oh yeah, they're meant to be brothers.
Yeah.
That's part of their bond, and if you take that away, I feel like, well, then, like, that's so much of who they are is their bond to each other. So if you take that away, then there's not a lot left. So
yeah, I if you are interested in like kind of dipping your toe into a different area, we just did the Wincest Big Bang, me, Sandra, and our buddy Dreamer.
Yeah, I listened to that episode. Well, I listened to a good portion of it. I got sidetracked.
It do be like that. It do be like that. But Dreamer wrote an unrelated Wincest that is literally like just dipping your toe into it because they're still who they are so closely that you don't really miss that they're not related. And she ties their backgrounds together so well, and it's just I'll just encourage. Because
I mean, I've read stories where they aren't related, but yeah, it's at least the ones that I read back in the day, it's good writing, is good story, but it just, didn't have that brother bond.
Yeah, prefer that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I get that. I don't think I've written unrelated Wincest.
Are there any fanfic tropes that you've noticed that you like to gravitate towards, like whether it's reading or writing? Or just as long as it's like Sam and Dean or J2, are you up for exploring, writing, reading it?
I am big on, like, I'll read just about anything, depending. But for writing, I definitely tend towards, if not in name, at least in spirit, soulmates, people who are meant to be together. That's one of my big things. And you'll see that in just about every story I write. So that's one of my biggest.
I love that.
What are some of your favorite works that you've written? You also talked about there's one you're working on now that's a J2. How does that compare to Homework verse? What is that?
Yeah,
what is that
pull
one
out the
about?
curtain. Tell us what you're working on.
Yes, it's very different. So like I said, when I read Homework first, that was supposed to be kind of a PWP. It turned out not to be, even though it was like 90% porn. I crammed a lot of story in there. It was
Yeah.
It fits so nicely around the porn though. Like I don't want to say like you don't notice it's there because that is diminishing your writing ability. But it do fit so nicely. You're just like, oh, there's a little bit of story and there's porn, and it's all very seamless. I love it.
Right. Yeah. So my other stories don't have as much porn as that one, obviously. But this one, there's porn in it, but the story, it's about two time traveling assassins. Jared and Jensen are on opposite sides of a silent American war.
I've seen this in AO3.
Yeah, Jared's working for a dark branch of the CIA, and Jensen is a terrorist, time traveling terrorist, and they are very much in opposition, and it takes a long time for them to have sex. Oh my God. They don't trust each other at all. But there's an attraction from the very beginning, of course, and it's a very deep, like, attraction to the point where as it goes on, even Jensen begins to wonder, it's so, like, compelling and elemental almost in feeling that he's like, is this coming from me, or did time plant something in me to feel this way? Because as we find out as we go along, time is beginning to unravel. There are things happening, like their memories are changing, and like things are happening differently than they were supposed to. And Jensen believes that they were brought together to perhaps try and fix the timeline, because the way that they met initially, when Jared first met Jensen, he had never met Jensen before, but Jensen had already met Jared in the past. That hadn't happened for Jared yet. And it turned out to be a bootstrap paradox, because Jensen is the one who took him back in time to meet his past self. So there's no point of origin there.
Okay.
Oh, it's like a Terminator paradox.
Right. And So, and paradox, bootstrap paradox has never happened in the recorded history of time, as far as they know. So this is a big deal.
Can I just, where does that term come from? Because I would call that a Terminator plot hole. Where does bootstrap paradox come from?
It's the scientific term for the theory of it.
Is it really?
A time travel event that has no point of origin. It's a loop.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what it is. I had to look up a bunch of stuff to refresh myself on my time travel info.
I was gonna say, is time travel like a big thing for you two, or do you just like, because if you said Fringe, I mean, I think that's a big like.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
I love Fringe. Okay. I'm big on time travel and alternate universes. I love those things. I'm all about possibilities and things happening differently. I eat that up with a spoon.
Yeah, my baby millennial ass is like, that's a Terminator. How did John Connor send Kyle back in time to create him if he didn't exist? Well, before Kyle went back in time to create him.
Exactly. And the thing is, I had to look all of this up and make sure I had the right terminology, because these guys are smart. This is what they do. So I did have to do a little bit of research. But yeah, I love that kind of stuff. But the thing is, when you want to start with alternate timelines or, changing memories because the timeline is changing, like what I'm doing in this story, and, time travel, period, you have to establish the universe first, right? You have to establish the rules. You have to, introduce all the concepts of how things happen in this universe. And then you have to begin to take it apart. So this story is very, very, very long. And it's not done yet.
For that.
And
great, though.
A lot of it is very Jared introspective, trying to figure out the mystery of this jackal guy who keeps popping up, and eventually Jared also begins to believe that they're linked. He falls in 100%. There's another event that happens where he's like, okay, there's no way the jackal knew that this was going to happen. And Jared ends up saving his life in the past twice. And the second time he does it. Yeah.
How big is your timeline document? Fucking hell.
Not very. I just have the basics written out. I keep a lot of things in my head.
I'm in awe.
But I have the basic points of like what's going on with the timeline written down, just so I don't get confused and write something wrong in the story that I then cannot take back.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's a lot. It's very complicated. It's very complex, and it's very, very slow because Jared is, working on figuring things out. And the jackal is this big question mark mystery, and Jared thinks he knows who he is, but then he sees things that makes him question, well, do I know who he is? And then Jared starts to believe they are meant to do something together, and they're like, well, we can't trust each other, and it's like, no, we can't, but sometimes maybe we have to believe each other, and because we need to work together on this, and there's this very much push and pull, and the sex is just like incredibly like it's really good, but it's different. It's very, like I said, it's very almost like they're elemental forces coming together. It's almost as if something else is pulling them together. And like I said, Jensen even starts to question, is this coming from me, what I am feeling here? Because I locked my heart away a long time ago. Jensen has tragedy in his past. And
I'm sensing a theme here, friend. I'm sensing a theme.
Yeah. I'm a sucker for somebody who has closed themselves off and has to be drawn out and rediscover. And like that's because if they're both there for it and ready, then I mean that's fun sometimes, but that's a little more fluffy and like this is a little more like meaty. And so Jensen's still trying to figure out his feelings, and it's very confusing for both of them because they have this draw to each other, but they can't trust each other, but they have to work together. And then, Jared's organization gets so bored. They're like, well, get as close to him as you can and find out whatever you can. And then when you get a chance, you kill him. And Jared has fought him a couple of times now. And he's like, nah, I can't kill him. I'm the best agent that, my organization has. And I'm really fucking good. This guy's just a little bit better. He's just a little bit better. And, and so he's like, I don't even know if I can kill him. But if I catch him off guard, maybe. And then eventually he's like, all right, look, we're doing a truce. I saved your life twice now. Clearly we're meant to do something together. We need to fucking, because Jensen starts being like, did you set this up? Did you do this? And then Jensen starts losing his shit. Jared's like, no. we need a truce. We've got to work together. We've got to do this. And no, I didn't set this up. And if you think about it, you realize that I didn't set it up. And Jared then like steps in and like calms him down and establishes a truce. And then,
oh my God, I need to inject this literally into my fucking veins. How close to done are you?
Oh my God, I wish I knew. So I know what's going to happen. I'm in Act 3 now. I believe Act 3 is going to be the final act. There might be a shorter, very shorter Act 4 kind of epilogue to it, or it might just be an epilogue. But I mean, I know where I'm going, but there is still quite a bit that needs to happen and a lot of secrets that still need to be questions that need to be answered. Like, I got to tell you, the people in my comments every week, they're tossing out these intricate fucking theories about what they think is happening. And I'm like, I love you guys so much. This is great. And I can't tell them if they're right or not, obviously.
Yeah.
And, yeah. I'm like, but I can't say anything, but I love you so much. That's great. And sometimes I try to be like, well, in theory, if you were right, then this. And I'm like, but we'll just have to wait and see. But every week they show up with these fantastic theories, and I love them to death. And every week they're like, well, when are we going to find out about this? When are we going to, like, who's the fucking director? Like, what is happening? And I'm like, guys, answers are coming, I promise. And we've just gotten into Act 3. We've just gotten a lot of answers about what has been going on. And literally nobody has been like, oh, finally you answered the question. No, they're just off on like, oh, well, I was right about this, or I was really wrong about this. They're like, but now I think this, and they're just still going on with their theories. And I'm like, you guys are awesome. I love this so much. I'm like, nobody even stopped to go, oh, that's what's been going on the whole time. No, they're just off to the next. And I'm like, that's great.
Are you releasing it like weekly? Like how are you working on that?
I'm doing it every week. I'm posting every Friday morning. I have taken a break here and there. Between acts, I took a week break. When I had to have my baby boy doggo put down, I took a week off that week. I was way ahead when I started. I was so far ahead. I was like 13 chapters in when I started posting. And I'm like, I got plenty of padding. But then, life happens.
Yeah.
And I'm literally at like, I'm 3 chapters out now. And I just posted the last chapter where we got a lot of answers. And some people are so mad at me. Not me, but mad at like the characters. And I'm like, oh man, I don't know. The chapters I have written, I may need to go back and like fix some stuff because these people are mad. I don't know if they're going to accept this. And, like, maybe they're right. Like maybe.
Oh no, isn't that the best feeling though?
Angry. Yeah.
Isn't that the best feeling though when people are like, I fucking hate what you've done. Carry on. Yeah. I'm so mad. Yeah. Please continue.
Yeah. They're really mad on Jared's behalf at this point. And I'm like, you guys have a point, but also like, then they're like, yeah, I understand it had to happen this way. There was no other way that it would have worked, but that there's no forgiveness for any of these people for what they've done to him. And I'm like, yikes, what do I do about that?
Yeah. I went and looked because you were like, I don't know how much is left, and I was like, well, I try not to read whips because I can binge a book like fucking hardcore, and then I'm left at the end with enormous blue balls going, oh fuck. But there's like almost 200,000 words, so I think
almost
all right.
It's gonna be 220 plus.
Wow.
And we've still got quite a bit to get through. We also have to now develop the relationship between Jared and Jensen now that they have more of a middle ground, but also Jared has reasons to be very angry. It's so much, you guys. It's so hard. All I wanted was to get them together. And like, no, they don't even fuck until like, I think, oh my God, 100,000, 110,000 words.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, Jesus Christ, I've had this scene written since like chapter 5.
Oh no!
And it's chapter 16 before it happens. I kept having to bump it up.
Are going to be calling me again. Oh my God!
Yeah. So it's been a journey.
When you do post, do you tend to wait until you're pretty much close to done with when do you start posting a longer story like this, or do you? When do you make that decision? Like, okay, I'm like you said, you were 12. How many chapters in were you before you started posting?
13.
Is that normal for you, or usually are you just like kind of just posting as you're coming up with the story?
No, I usually post as I go. And the thing
Okay.
with this story was that my friend Trendy Kitty, who betas for me, that I talk to about the story all the time,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
she was like, you know what, you should really write the whole story first. And
Mm.
that way, if there's anything you need to change about the time travel or this or that, you can always, go back and change it before you post it. Like, what if you like write yourself into a corner or something? And
Mm.
I'm like, that's fair. So I was going to write the whole thing. But then what happened was, once again, I'm in a vacuum. I've written 13 chapters. I'm at like 100 and some thousand words. And I have lost track of, is this even any good at this point? I
Mm.
can't. I'm like, I don't have feedback to fire me up and keep me
Right.
going on
Yeah.
this. And that's rough. And I'm like, you know what? I need to just start posting it. And I've got enough padding that I should be okay. I don't know though. I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep up the weekly schedule for this final act. I really
Mm.
hope I can, but
Mm-hmm.
it may be that I end up posting every 2 weeks
Okay.
instead. But yeah, but normally I post as I go. Homework verse, I think there was a question I saw in the file about when did I write it as opposed to when I post it.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote it and posted it and literally was finishing editing it right before I slapped it up online. Like
Okay.
that's generally how I write.
Do you feel like the comments for this one will really affect how you end it, or do you think you're just gonna
Yeah,
like?
that's what I was going to
Oh,
ask. Do you
yeah.
find yourself swayed by the fan theories in the comments? Are you ever like, that's fucking awesome, and I didn't think of that, and I'm
Oh, all the
stealing that?
time, all the time. People come up with things, and I'm like, God, that's almost even better than what I have planned. And then sometimes I'm like, wow, how did I get there? Like that's interesting. Like
Mhm.
it's not dumb, but like, wow, I would never have like put that together. That's just
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
wild. I haven't really changed anything based on the comments, but I have made some things clearer
Mm.
after the fact based on comments.
Okay.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, well, what about this? This didn't like make sense. And I'm like, maybe I need to touch on that a little harder. So then I'll go to the chapter that's coming up soon and I'll like do a little edit to write in there something about that fits in place so that, because I'm like, oh, obviously I didn't like, I know this in my head, but maybe I haven't said it in the story. So I need to add that. And I have done that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But rarely does it do comments influence where I go with the story. Very occasionally it does happen,
Mhm.
but I have this very solidly plotted out. There's a lot of things that can happen in between. Like I don't know
Mhm.
exactly how Jared and Jensen's relationship is going to come together. That's part of the fun. I know it
Yeah.
will,
Mhm.
but like I do know what the plot is for like the time travel and everything, and that's not going to change. So.
Okay. I could imagine that time travel. Trendy Kitty was probably right on point with that. Like, yeah, wait, because it might get really gnarly and like twisted, and you're really going to be like, "Whoa, wait a minute! How does it? How am I going to get this to work now?"
I'm
Situation.
really good at working with what's there. Like
Mm-hmm.
I like if I wanted to change something, then I would figure out a way to be like, oh, we were wrong about this. This is how it actually works.
Gotcha. So you
Type
can like
thing.
you can reverse engineer as you're
If
writing.
I need to, if I need to. But I've been
Awesome.
pretty good about making sure I go back and check myself before I write something in the story. Like, okay, how did I say this worked? Let me make sure that this
Mm-hmm.
lines up. Okay, yeah, that's how that works. Cool.
And
All
you
right.
keep that all in you keep a lot of that in your head?
I do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I would
We're
need
not
schematics.
worthy. For fucking real, I would have a notes document that would probably be bigger than the actual working document at that point.
Wow.
Oh
I
my gosh.
do have a document with, like I said, the basics of what's happening with
Mhm.
time written out
Mhm.
just so I don't confuse myself. But
Mm-hmm.
mostly what I have are scenes that I've written that I'm like, it's not time for this yet. All right, put it in the future scene stock. And I've got this like massive future scene stock that I may or may not use pieces from. We'll see.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
You
yeah.
said you're
Yeah.
big on time travel and stuff like that, but was there one story in particular that kind of got you interested in writing this one, or just something like you'd seen or
Oh,
a show?
so I work in a comic shop. I'm the manager of a comic shop. I've been there
Wow.
coming up on 6 years now.
Okay.
Wow.
And I've always been into
Jealous.
comics my whole life. And then I got married, raised some kids, lost track. I mean, I still kind of read some comics then, but I
Mhm.
wasn't as deep into it. And I went into tech, and that was my career for like 20 years. And then I got divorced, kind of started over, and I needed a job just to get, hit the ground running. And I saw the comic shop, and I was like, and because I used to work in a comic shop when I was younger. And I was like, well, I could work there for a year, get back on my feet. And then now it's 6 years later. And I'm like, I love this job because I don't feel like it's sucking my soul from my body every day. So, so here I am. And so I ordered all the comics at the shop, and there was this story coming out from an independent line. And the basis of the synopsis was time traveling assassins. I'm like, that sounds so cool. That would be such a great story. It's right up my alley. And so I ordered the comic. And then I read it, and it was awful. It was literally just them falling through time period after time period and fighting each other. And I'm like, this is not interesting. And I'm like, but you know what? It does give me an idea for a story. So that was the basis, was time traveling assassins that I saw as comic book synopsis. So, and it grew out of that. And I thought it was going to be more of an action story, and it has turned out to be much more of a mystery.
Sounds like espionage, kind of like has that feel to it too. That's great.
I love that.
I'm all on board for that. It doesn't matter if there isn't
fully
any
in
porn
this.
until 100 and stuff.
It matters to me a little bit, but I will power through. It does. I will power through. I definitely feel about like my reference about Dulux went over everybody's head like about 5 minutes ago. So I'm like, my autism is kind of itching my brain to explain that. Dulux is a paint company in the UK.
Okay.
And it is a long-standing joke between me and Dreamer, and I think I've probably said it to Sandra as well, that when they blue ball me so hard, Dulux is going to come and like fucking take a sample of the blue color of my nuts for their fall collection. That's what's going to happen. And so like, yeah, Dulux might be calling me again by the time I get into this fic. Just be like, Mrs. Safe Word, we feel like you've got a new color for us.
Yeah,
I might keep homework
staring into the
open.
Sun. Do that in between, like staring into the sun, staring into fiction.
Yeah.
You've got to read Stranger Than Fiction. That is the most fun I ever had writing a story. I cackled.
Oh, you can tell. You can tell. There's so much. It's just it is. There's so much humor in it, and when you get like put in there, and the story that was written in there that like Dean reads, that's from Nyxocity, did you just come up with that, or did you kind of base that off of something else that maybe you had written, or was that just like your like just part of the Stranger Than Fiction story, like nothing else that you had?
So there's a story in there that's quoted, and that was my friend Yvette's New Breed story.
Okay.
That's the one that's quoted in there. But he does I quoted the New Year's story, didn't I? That was mine. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I was thinking about, what would really set Dean like to go, but God damn it, why am I bottoming again? But kind of hot.
You look so good doing it. That's why. Have you seen that ass, Ackles? Bloody hell. We watched The Boys. We've seen that ass.
Yeah. So, I went through my stories and picked out one that I thought would be like kind of hot, but like still would like repel him a little bit. Yeah.
It's really good. It's just really good.
No, I'm gonna have that
Chuck.
open. Yeah, in a separate tab.
Poor Chuck.
Yeah, poor Chuck. Poor Chuck having to see that. It's funny because not too long ago, there's going to be an interview coming out next week where
is it like Oh My Chuck?
It's a little bit like Oh My Chuck, but like
that,
with Oh My Chuck, it's like it's actually God, but like in this situation, like you're getting the idea that the prophet is seeing this stuff, going, yeah, I didn't really need to, but now here we go. That kind of situation.
I got 24/7 visual on you guys. It's funny. Great. Where's my alcohol?
It's very funny. Very funny.
I fucking love that.
Oh goodness!
I gotta just honorable mention as well, because I know that we're like we've kept you for a long time. We will wrap it up.
Fine.
On honorable mention, It's Not Living If It's Not With You verse. I fucking love that so much. I think it's so fucking cute. I love it so much. But
that's
also
very fluffy story. I was able to write that very quickly. It was a very easy write for me because it's just so cute and fluffy and wonderful. It's not,
and it like
It's not complicated.
No, I happen to be a really enormous fan of like phone sex and video sex and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's all the fucking but
Definitely.
That was very enjoyable to write. I really enjoyed writing that story. It was not complicated. It was just very cute and very fun. And yeah, it was good. And I spent a lot of time watching zoo camps while I was writing that. So
yeah. And also it's from Jensen's POV, so you get to like primp and get ready with him and like do his hair and get dressed and like they like fuck on Zoom. You know, that's real good. It's but like you get to get ready with him. It's nice. And he's got a little cat and it's nice.
And they were Zoom mates.
And they were Zoom mates. Oh my god, what if they were Zoom mates?
I think one of my questions, and this is about, I guess it's hard to say like who your favorite kid is, but like, do you have a favorite work of yours, or does it just depend on the day and who's being nicer to you that day when you got to do it?
So, yeah, it's hard. It's hard to pick. Homework verse always very, very close to my heart. That story, like I said, those guys lived in my head, and it was the first experience I ever had like that, where I felt like they were real people that were talking through me, and I just love those boys so much. They mean so much to me. So yeah, it's probably homework verse. Although I have a real big love for Stranger Than Fiction, because like I said, I just cackled like a mad woman the whole time I was writing that story. It was so much fun.
Can't wait to read it.
And it just flew out of me. It just flew.
Aren't those great when they just like flow and you're just like, oh, this is so nice. I wish I could do this all the time.
Yeah.
You look back at those moments fondly when you're going, why won't you do what I fucking need you to do?
Yeah. Like this story that I'm working on currently. Yeah. And then there's also Nothing Ever Really Ends, the one that I wrote for the Wincest scene that is post-series Sam and Dean in Heaven.
Okay.
I love that story. It's an idea I had in my head for like, God, since probably like 2008. And I just never had a good vehicle for it. It was just this idea of kind of like elemental Winchesters, and then I decided to write for the zine, the first zine that they did after the show had ended. I think they did one more after that. But yeah, I have such a big soft spot. I love that story so much. It is Sam and Dean to me, and what they mean.
That's great. I just have one more question, then we're going to get into Kasey's question. Kasey's last questions.
Yes, my questions.
Who are your favorite fanfic authors? Like maybe of all time?
That's so tough. I don't read that much anymore these days, because every time I am reading something, I'm like, I should be writing.
Yeah, that's the thing too.
Oh yeah. I don't read like I used to. Xenodike, I really love her stuff. I will usually make time to read anything that she does.
Okay.
But a lot of my picks are going to be like Sylvan Witch, who wrote the Bikerverse, which is, love her. A lot of the people I used to read like aren't in fandom anymore.
Right.
Like Dimple for Your Thoughts. I used to beta for her, and I love her work. She's such a good writer. Back in the day, oh my gosh, I don't even know if a lot of these people have transitioned their stories over to AO3. So it's like, but like it's probably people you've never even heard of. Like one of my big favorites was Winter Live on LiveJournal. I just loved her stuff. I don't know if she's moved over to AO3 or not. My crew back in the day were really good writers. Like Alex was Court Malin. Really wrote a lot of great stuff back then. Regeneration, Mickey M. I was never Dream Little Yo. You might have heard of them.
Okay.
They used to
Name
write
sounds familiar.
They used to write with Leonidas Lion a lot.
Sounds familiar. Maybe we need to get on LiveJournal, Sandra.
I think
Maybe
so. I think that's the
we need
thing.
to get
And
on
again, like
LiveJournal.
I think us coming into it, really, like AO3 was primarily like where we found it, but then to know that there's so much more. And I mean, I'm assuming with LiveJournal, I mean, a lot of people are just leaving their stuff up and not just necessarily pulling a lot of their stuff. Or does that happen?
But it happened a bit back in the day. There would be like, there was an Anon meme for a while, and that was just really bad for fandom because people would get in there anonymously and just rag on people. And then there were certain authors that took that very personally and rightfully so, and eventually just, shut down their journals. And some of them would post like to another place and leave it up.
Okay.
And some of them didn't. Gosh, I can't remember the person's name, but like, back in the day, Balefully, Lazy Days. God, I can't remember her name because she changed it like 3 times, trying to get away from people who were mad at her for being famous, basically.
Gosh.
I mean, basically, yeah, that's what it was. They would get in there and rag on the popular fanfic authors, and yeah, and me too. And I just tried to ignore a lot of that, but I was like, y'all ain't chasing me out of fandom. You can try.
Yeah.
You can fuck off. I will leave when I want to leave. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, God, what was her name? She wrote Exact Change, which you might be able to find on AO3. I don't know. But yeah, she wrote a lot of good stuff back in the day. Killa Bees, Blessed. Like I said, I haven't read a lot of stuff in recent years. Because life, and also like if I'm reading, I should be writing. So
Gotcha.
Yeah. I'm starting to think this life thing might be a trap. It just keeps getting in the way.
It really does.
Fucking rude.
I have one more question that I thought of. How much of your stuff has inspired a lot of other writers? Because you're talking about like companion pieces and stuff like that. Have you noticed? I mean, have you inspired a lot of like artwork, podficking, like stuff like that, like over the years?
Well, back in the LiveJournal days, once again, there were a lot of people who would just show up with free art and be like, "Hey, I made this art," and I'm like, "Oh my God, that's amazing!" Like, holy crap! I had a couple people make videos, like movie trailer videos for Beautiful Disaster. For oh my gosh, what's the other one? Oh, Who Watches Over Me? And also for the Quantum Leap based one, which I can't remember the name of my own story right now. But putting myself on the spot. Hold on, I'm gonna go look.
I mean, when you've got nearly 200, that's difficult to keep track of them all, That's a lot of kids running around in your head.
It is a lot of kids running around. It is called Until You're Resting Here With Me. That's the one. Okay. Yeah. So people made videos for those 3 that I totally didn't ask for, and they're freaking amazing. The Who Watches Over Me one is like, holy shit, so good. People would show up with like, photo manipulated art or like original art, and like for Homework Verse, people made me some art. For Beautiful Disaster, I got a crap ton of art. People just loved the rock star aspect of it, I think. So much artwork for that story that just showed up. And then, I mean, over the years, people have been like, "Hey, can I make art for this story?" And I'm like, it's like that post on Tumblr. It's like, "My brother in Christ, we shall have a spring wedding." Like, yes. Yes, you can make me art, please.
You don't even have to ask. Just bring it. I will be appreciative. Good Lord.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, and you've done a lot of Big Bangs as well?
Well, I did Big Bang through 2011, and then I think I skipped a year or 2. I did another one in 2014. I did another one in 2018. There were like some years in there where it was getting rough. And then I did, I think Superposition was a Big Bang I did in 2020, because I wrote a lot of it during quarantine.
Okay.
So I've done, I guess, like 6 Big Bangs. Not as many as I wanted to. I used to like be like, I got to do it every year, but
that's a lot. We just did the one, and we were like, life.
Yeah. And then literally, as soon as I'd finished the Wincest Big Bang, like within the fucking month, it was like, hey, there's a Sam Winchester Japad one. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me right now? I have got shit to do. I don't have a Big Bang in me.
Right.
But also, if I don't sign up for this, I feel like I'm letting Sam down because I've been very vocal that while there's a Dean Winchester Big Bang, but there's not a Sam Winchester one anymore, you know, where they at. So I feel like I need to represent, but also shit to do, Nyx.
Yeah. I've also done art for other people's Big Bangs.
Oh.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I have done the reverse Big Bang or the reverse. I don't know. There was one where I made art for somebody's story. I can't remember. It wasn't the Big Bang, but yeah. And then there are the ones where you go claim images and write the story. The reverse bang. I've done that. I've done art for other people's stories. I did art for some of the Big Bangs back in the day. If you were done with your story and there were still claims, they'd let you claim. So I would do both.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah.
Could you spare like a fraction of talent for the rest of the place? Just a tiny bit. Like 5%. And we'll share it about.
I'm also a hell of a beta, so
Awesome.
I do a lot of editing myself. I don't like mostly it's proofreading when people go through my stuff. It's not a lot of editing. I self-edit. And I have edited other people's work as well.
So is the art just from like the comics, like your love of comics and stuff? Is that kind of like come about that way?
So I do a lot of Photoshop stuff. I have always been artistic. I used to draw a lot when I was younger. And then I self-taught Photoshop too back in the day. And I learned how to do, photo manipulations and stuff like that. And I got into actually a career. I was a web designer / graphic designer for many years. Unfortunately, that is a position that will get you cut as soon as they need to cut their budget or the project is done. So eventually I got deeper into more tech stuff, but I've always done graphic art and I love doing graphic art. I do all the graphic art for where I work now. I do all the graphic art for the Facebook post ads that we do and stuff like that. Wow. I just love it.
Very nice.
So
again, just 5%. We'll share it about. Just a little bit of talent for the rest of us, please. Tiny little bit.
I'm tapped out now, Kasey. I'm going to leave you.
Is it my go?
The last two questions. Yes.
It's my go. Yes. Yay. Alrighty. Depending on what episodes you've listened to, you might know the secret question, but we'll see. So first of all, though, just if you'd like to share, if you don't want to, it's absolutely no problem at all. How did you come up with your username?
Okay, yeah, I did see that in there. So it's kind of a long story. I'll try to keep it brief. So back in the day when I worked in the comic shop, there was an Advanced Dungeons & Dragons comic book that came out. I am a big player of Dungeons & Dragons, love it. And so I was reading that and there was a character in there and he was a dwarf and his name was Onyx. And I'm like, that's a really cool name and a really cool gemstone name. I'm like, doesn't really fit him. So then when I eventually, maybe a year later, got to make my first D&D character, I named her Onyx. That was her moniker. It wasn't her actual name. That was what she went by. And I went through a lot with that character. I was in a group where we role played heavily. So she became very personal and part of me. And part of me was in her. Yeah. And so when I got online in 1996 and I went to my first online chat room, I needed a name. And so I went with Onyx and I was Onyx for many, many years. And then the internet grew and more people came along with the name Onyx. And I was like, okay, I got to be more unique. So
rude though. You were that first.
I know, right?
She was like, excuse me, this was my name first. Fuck off. Yes. Sorry, carry on.
So then there was somebody who used to call me Nixie in the chat room. So I went by that for a while. Then that got more popular. And I used to have this tagline on my journal that said, when I was Nixie, it said powered by Nyxocity. It's supposed to be like, electricity, whatever. It's just something cute that I came up with, powered by Nyxocity. And so when I started looking for another name, I went, that's really cool. I like that. So that's what I went with. And that's what I've been ever since, because that has turned out to be unique. So there you go.
Yeah.
Because I made it up.
Yeah. That's great though. I love that. What a great backstory. Are you still you said you're still into D&D and stuff? Still like,
Yeah, I am a forever DM for the most part now. I'm a story runner, and I mean, it makes sense because I'm a writer, right? So,
yeah, I do
yeah,
be.
yeah.
Sometimes it do be that way.
Oh, okay. All right, let's finish the questions. But I have something to tell you guys that's kind of exciting. at the
Oh,
end.
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Do you want to tell us now? Because the last question is unrelated to anything else we've talked about.
Oh, okay. So I have an announcement to make.
Ooh.
Ooh, look at this breaking news on Idling in the
Breaking
Impala.
news. It's breaking news.
I might have to push this up then if it's breaking news. What is the breaking news?
Yeah, well, you heard it here first, hopefully. I am, for the 20th anniversary of the show in 2025, I am doing another story in the Homework verse.
Awesome.
Ever.
Kasey, you just went out. You started screaming and it just went boom. Are you back? I think we blew it.
No, I'm here. I'm like, I don't think you watched The Big Bang Theory, Sandra. Did you ever watch it, Nyx?
Yeah.
I've watched The Big Bang Theory. Yes.
Have you watched it all?
On the last season.
Oh, okay. You know when Sheldon gets robbed in World of Warcraft and Leonard comes in and there's police in the apartment and he's breathing really heavily into a paper bag? That is literally me right now. I need a paper bag.
Oh my gosh. So I mean, is this because do you know what it is? Have you already started writing it? Are you really like, what's the plans for it?
Okay, so I started talking about it back in, I want to say, 20, God, I don't even know, 2015, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
With one of my friends in a chat. And I was like, yeah, I had this little fragment that I had posted on my LiveJournal that I got up in the middle of the night, literally go to the bathroom, and Chad from Homework First started talking in my head. And I saw this scene and I had to go to the bathroom, walk to my computer, write out this little short scene, and then go back to bed.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And that fragment had been stuck in my head for a long time. And I'm like, there is a story here. And I figured out what it was. And I have it all planned out. I know what's going to happen. I just have never written it because I'm like, well, do I need more stories in this universe? Like, you know, I ended the story. The story's over. I'm like, how much more is there to tell? And it's not really going to have a lot of conflict because it's, you know, we've dealt with their conflict at this point, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, what's the point of writing it? Well, I've had it in the chamber for years and years and years, and I never pulled the trigger. And then somebody asked me a few months ago on Tumblr if I would consider, for the 20th anniversary, writing something in the Homework verse. And I was like, you know what? I'll think about it. And then I was rereading the story. I reread the whole verse in 2 days before the podcast. Yeah, it was a lot.
Wow.
I'm a fast reader.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was rereading the verse and I realized how much I fell in love with them all over again and went, you know what? It's time. It's time to write this story. I'm going to do it for the 20th anniversary of the show.
That's awesome.
Screaming, literally.
There will be
not actually
Homework
screaming.
verse.
Not actually screaming because I'll peek out my mic. Can you pull back the veil a tiny bit? Is it a sequel? Is it a prequel? Does it fit somewhere in the existing story?
It's after everything you've already read. It is post reunion. A couple months after the reunion. And it's based around their 10-year anniversary.
Oh,
Screaming.
Lovely.
This is all I can do because if I get any louder, my mic will fucking go out. I'm literally dancing in my chair and I'm screaming for fucking.
So
ever.
is the plan that are you going to release it around the actual 20th anniversary? Are you going to try to lead up to it? Is it going to be a shorter-ish story?
It'll be short-ish. It'll probably be 30,000 words. It'll probably be for me, that's short-ish. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it'll probably be size of Anywhere But Here or the reunion fic. It'll be probably about that long.
That's awesome.
And I don't know when I'm going to release it exactly, but it probably will be mid to late next year because I got to finish the time travel story first.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Wow. And I figure if I have to push it and wait until actually, what was it? When did the show debut? September 5th?
September, yeah.
So if I have to push it to that, I that's fine. I should be done with the time travel. Well done with the time travel story by then.
Okay. So. That's awesome. That's awesome news.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm
gosh.
very excited. And
Yes.
after writing, I think what happened was after writing this time travel story being so hard to like make transitions in their relationship and like
Mhm.
transitioning from new knowledge and like it's so difficult to write and it's very complex. I went back and reread Homework Verse and went, God, this is easy by comparison. I know exactly who these people are. And you know what?
Mm.
It would actually be fun to write them again. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's going to be like my treat
Mm.
after I finish the time travel story.
It's going to be everybody's
Yeah.
treat. Everybody's going to be treating on that.
Fucking treat.
That's amazing. That's
Ever.
awesome. That's awesome news.
Oh,
Yay.
thank you for sharing that with
Yay,
us.
thank you.
Yeah.
I might cut
Right.
that clip out and just like release that part before the actual like episode goes out, just so people know to like get ready. You got some great stuff. Like the homework verse is coming back in
Yeah.
2025.
In the year of our Lord 2025,
yeah,
new Homework
Lord
Verse.
knows
Yeah.
we need it. We need it.
We need it. We need it. Good Lord. Oh my God. So
Are you okay,
fucking
Casey?
cool.
Are you going to be able to ask your secret question?
Yeah, probably. Kind of floating with the stars a little bit, but yeah, probably keep it together till the end of the episode. Alrighty. So like I said, this question has absolutely nothing to do with supernatural, fanfic writing, the homework verse, or anything else. But adults don't ask other adults this question enough. I am on a one-person mission to change that. So, Nyx, what is your favorite dinosaur?
Okay. So I love dinosaurs. I have loved dinosaurs since I was a very small child, and I know a lot of some of the lesser known ones, but all of the big known ones. And I gotta tell you, at the end of the day, I'm a T-Rex fan.
Love that.
Friggin' love a T-Rex. I know it's trite. It's overdone, like king of the dinos, or at least it used to be. But I just love a T-Rex. I just think they're so cool looking and they're so badass, and then they're kind of goofy too.
Yeah,
And I love a T-Rex.
I love that for you.
We have a lot of people, I think, that have liked T-Rex.
There's a few people that have said T-Rex. Yeah, we're keeping it. I keep a table of Sam Blorbos and Dean Blorbos, and now I'm keeping a Dino Doc as well.
Oh, nice.
So I will tell you exactly how. Oh my god, I typed in Dino into my search bar, and it brought up all the shit I've looked at for my kid for Christmas. He's 6 and he loves dinosaurs.
Yeah.
T-Rex, you're actually now going to bump T-Rex into joint first place.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm being basic. It's cool though.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Look, the other two tops are pterodactyl and triceratops.
And triceratops is another big one, yeah.
But pterodactyl isn't even an animal, so don't even worry about it.
It's pteranodon, right?
Yeah. Pterodactyl is it's not even like a species, it's an informal name for pterosaurs, but there is no animal called a pterodactyl. But enough people said it's a pterodactyl that I was like, I have to go with this as given. You're not quite right, but okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's been a misconception for a long time because people have called him that for a long time.
Yeah, no, you're going on the list as T-Rex. Amazing.
So next, we gotta thank you. This has been great. Really, thank you so much for the time today.
Yes.
I want to ask one last question, just a words of wisdom thing before we let you go. What would you want to leave any of our fanfic writers who are listening with, like words of wisdom? Like if they're having a tough time with it, if they're in the middle of a story like yours with, is it retrospective? Is that the
Retroactive.
Retroactive. Retrospective might be retroactive. What would you want to give a writer maybe having a tough time, or like, I don't know if I should keep doing this. Just, if they're just down on themselves, or they just need a little bit of just a little kick in the pants to keep writing.
Well, for me, what helps is talking to other people about it. Helps get me a little more inspired, or maybe let one of your friends read it and give you their thoughts on it and get a fresh perspective. That's always helpful. And always remember that no matter how bad you think the story might be, there are people out there who want to read it. There are always people out there who want to read your story. There will always be people who will read your story. And it will mean something to somebody. It will speak something to them. Even if it's just a word fragment or like a little thought or whatever it is, like it's worth putting out there just to communicate with other people and hopefully have some sort of exchange of ideas and creativity. And yeah, somebody's going to read your story. And don't get down on yourself, because I've been down on myself too. It happens to us all. I get stuck. I'm in a vacuum. I don't know. I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to climb out. I had a story that I started, wrote 3 chapters in 2009, and didn't pick up again until 2017 to finish. But I finished it because it haunted me.
The beating heart under the floorboards.
Yep. Don't let your stories haunt you. Finish them. If for no other reason, do it for that. But there's a lot of other good reasons to do it too. So
that's great. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Like without sounding too much like a fan model, this has genuinely been like a dream come true. Thank you so much for coming to talk to us. I've had such a good time.
Me too, man. This has been great.
This has been so great, and I've had such a blast, like talking to you about different stories and what you're working on now, and just the amount of time you've been a part of fandom, like historical, like, you know what I mean? It's like it's legend, like legendary parts of the fandom, and that you've been a part of it, and you've been able to explain some stuff to me and Kasey that I know we knew nothing about, and wouldn't have known.
Fandom has changed a lot.
Yeah, and it's great to be able to talk to people that have made such a difference, that people are still finding your work, and still talking about it. I think is just amazing, and I know.
Yeah, me too. I can't believe it. I'm like, gosh, people are still like, yeah, this is awesome.
But I mean, it says a lot about your writing, and it says a lot about. I mean, again, now I'm going to be going through everything that you've written now that I finally decided to read the homework. So the floodgates are open. But I really do appreciate your time. And I'll touch base with you about when and the what's. And I'll try to probably take a couple things out. I mean, I know we were kind of joking about the E.L. James thing, but I might take that part out just so, nobody gets a little too.
I thought about that.
She might have Anne Rice's lawyer's number, to be fair. So.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, if there's anything you can think of before, but I'm usually pretty good at figuring out what probably needs to get cut. So that'll probably be
an excellent edit.
Where we edit that out. But I'd also, I mean,
I might be about to preempt what you're about to say, Sandra. I would really love when you are done with this time travel thing that you're working on, and when you do the new homework verse, if you would come back and talk to us about those.
Yeah.
That would be so fucking cool.
Gosh. Absolutely. Whatever you guys want to talk about. If you want to have me on to talk for an hour about homework verse, we could do that.
Well, now that we know, I mean, like I said, we've withheld this for so with our people, and once they find out, like, what? Look, we have questions, so maybe if we do get a bunch, like a round of questions, maybe we might be able to have you back and do like a, I don't know. Questions or otherwise, I'm like, no, absolutely.
Not to dismiss our lovely listeners. This won't make the episode. Not to dismiss them, but heck, their questions. I want to talk to you about this time travel behemoth that you're writing. And also, you've made my fucking 2024 by telling me there's going to be a new homework verse. So please come back and talk to me about it. Jesus Christ.
Absolutely. I would love to. I never get tired of people wanting to hear about my stories. Like, I have so much to say about them because they mean so much to me that if people want to hear, I am so excited and happy to talk about it. Like, please let me talk about it.
Yeah.
We'll pencil you in.
Have you ever been on, I mean, have there been any like supernatural podcasts that have reached out to you that you've been on before, or?
No, this is the first one.
People don't
I know. So there was one that I can't remember the name of, that the Trendy Kitty is friends with one of the people who does it, and they had mentioned to her that they wanted to have me on.
Okay.
But they had never reached out. So
okay.
Yeah, this was my first one.
Aw, yay.
We're so fucking lucky.
Thanks for dealing with us in the beginning. And I mean, I'm still probably not quite as on point as I like to be with conversations because I feel like this is big. This is big for us, and I know that sounds weird,
Aw.
but it's been really great to just get a chance to talk to somebody that does so many amazing things in writing, and just thank you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Like, this has been so much fun.
Oh, good.
Yay.
And we're definitely going to try to have you back.
Yeah,
for
for
this
sure.
conversation.
No, we're not going to try. It's going to happen. I will make it happen.
Okay.
I will
All
will
right.
it into existence.
Casey's making it happen, so that's great.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, we are going to do our outro after we say ciao ciao to you. So feel free to exit out. You get your pets in order. Having some downtime. You spent like 4 hours with us too.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot. But thank you
It's
so
fine.
much. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you
It's been
so
great.
much. It's been a
Yeah,
blast.
thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great rest of the weekend.
Okay,
Yes.
you guys too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So, wow, that was a lot.
Wow. For real, though? Like, I'm in fan model shock a little bit. Just a little bit. I need a Sheldon Cooper brown bag.
Do you have any like closing thoughts on this situation? Or are you still processing all of it?
I just fucking like genuinely fan dreams come true. That's so fucking wild. Yeah, no, I'm still. You're gonna have to give me a minute. I'm still processing that. You know, I was so fucking cool, so lovely to talk to Nyx. She's amazing. And I could listen to her talk about her stories and her fandom experiences literally forever. Just literally forever and ever and ever. That was the bestest. Any closing thoughts from you while you're sending an email?
I as I'm sending an email to Nyx, I think I'm just I'm glad that I got the chance to finally like sit my ass down and read a ton of her stuff and be amazed and understand, all the hype about, homework first, but then all of the other things that, are just, she's written so much that.
Yeah, that's like homework verse. I mean, I was brought in unknowingly from Who Watches Over Me, but homework verse was really sort of where I found my love for Nyx's writing. But now I'm like, I want to go back and I want to consume every little bit of hells. Yeah. I don't think either of us, like, I'm gonna be honest, we're not speechless very often, but I don't think either of us have words for how fucking cool this is right now.
Well, because I also don't think that we've never gotten a chance to talk that in depth with somebody who's been around in the fandom for that long. Like, we have talked to some people that have been in the fandom for a while, but like that was just like
on the ground floor.
But then also
3.
like went back, reread homework verse like for this podcast and like was doing like, her own background information on herself and like, knew all the things and the fandom experience as a whole was just amazing.
Yeah.
Just amazing.
Fucking insane.
So yeah, I mean,
thank you so much, Nyx. Thank you for coming to talk to us. Seriously, we're just a little bit like, I genuinely like, we're not worthy from Wayne's World. Fucking hell.
Yeah. So we're gonna wrap this up
because we're literally both sat here like,
I don't think we're usually this like speechless. So it's been a thing, and we're gonna wrap up this episode.
Up.
We want to say thank you for listening. We know you've enjoyed it, and we want to know your thoughts on the episode. You can email us at idlingintheimpala@gmail.com. You can comment on Spotify in the Q&A section. You can leave a YouTube comment. You can join our Discord and chat with fellow idlers and us in real time. Check out our merch store, which is another fun way to show your support. You can find details for everything on our website. That's at idlingintheimpala.com. Want to fuel our supernatural road trip? Consider joining us on Ko-fi for as little as $1 a month. We have perks to go along with different membership tiers and would love to have you along for the ride.
Oh my God, I completely fucking forgot my words there. Don't forget, you can always support us for free by liking, commenting, subscribing on YouTube, and following, rating, sharing on audio platforms. Engagement like that really helps us with the algorithms. All hail their benevolence. As always, we have the causes we support in the description. So from me, you have LGBTQ plus talking charities. From Sandra, you have mental health charities. And of course, the main causes we are always highlighting, championing, spotlighting are World Central Kitchen and Doctors Without Borders. If you want to know more about these charities, why we're supporting them, what they mean to us, check out idlingintheimpala.com. There's a page there called Causes Cause with all the details. So with that, we will say a huge thanks to Nyx for joining us. Thank you for joining us in the back seat, and we will see you next time, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.